Hey, we're live. We did it. Yes. All right. That's hilarious. Got to turn your volume off and I can hear me. Oh, I see. What's up, guys? If y'all are with me, I'm getting drinks because I'm thirsty and I'm tired. And I'm hungry and I'm angry and I'm lonely or whatever. Halt, isn't that what they say? Or heart hungry, energy drained. That's one of them, isn't it? Oh, we got to get to our, where am I? Over here, Ask an Arborist. Holy smokes, you guys, we're up to 535. What is this? That's hilarious. I don't know who you are, Brittany, but that's a great profile pic. All right, so we're up to 538 members. That's plus 88 in the past week, I think is what I checked. All right, Lucas, talk to me. Where are we at? No. Where are we at? Down here. There was something like 100,000 emails that came through. June 8th. All right, y'all. What is up? My name is Matt Latham. I am a board-certified master arborist and registered consulting arborist. I run a consulting firm called Arborist on Demand, and we do essentially telemedicine for trees. I learned a long time ago that I don't have to be there in person to take a look at your tree. 9 times out of 10, I can sit there and I can just look at it on a picture or get on a Zoom chat with you or Google Meets or FaceTime or whatever. And we can look at it together, ask a few of the right questions and really pinpoint what's going on with your trees. And so I started this little Facebook group, Ask an Arborist, because I realized a lot of people don't want to pay the full fee, but they really need questions answered. And so I wanted to put this out there just to help you guys out because there's a lot of tree problems out there. And quite frankly, if it's good for trees, it's good for people. We love and we live under our trees, and it turns out those trees actually benefit us in so many ways. So I wanted to start this little Facebook group to really just help answer y'all's questions and get you pointed in the right direction. Because the reality of the matter is there's so much misinformation out there about trees and tree care and all that. And I'm sorry, we're getting a little bit of a late start today. Lucas and I were at the KTRH studios, which actually they office out of the iHeartRadio studios here in Houston. And we were there doing some live stream, or not live stream, but pre-recorded stuff for a little radio show that we do. I think I found it. Dale Castle, is that right, Lucas? Out of Kansas City, Missouri. All right, so we were recording. Sorry I'm late, you guys, but let's go and rock and roll on this. We got like what, 400,000 questions, you said, Lucas, something like that? 400,380. I'm sorry, I was wrong. All right, so Dale Castle out of Kansas City, Missouri asks, I planted this fall Fiesta maple 2 years ago. The middle seems kind of bare to me. Is this something to worry about? Should I trim the lower part or just leave it alone? That is a really good question, Dale. And I'm glad you're asking before just hack chopping and slicing because I see it. I'm in a new subdivision myself, and I see all my neighbors around me are like pruning the daylights out of their trees and raising them up. And that actually is not so great. In fact, in an ideal world, you would leave those lower limbs on as long as you possibly can before the tree gets too big. Now, what you eventually want to do is you do want to prune to establish what's called the permanent branching structure. I'll go ahead and show you right here. Let me exit out of this and make me full screen here. Well, yeah, he's got those middle. Okay, so you got a tree. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that too. Lucas brought up a really good point. All right, so you got a tree here, and you got all these different branches, and then you got thousands of other branches branching off of that. So if there were such a thing as a perfect tree, which there's not, they're natural trees, and they grow naturally, and they're going to have various problems accordingly. Is that better? Can y'all see my screen now? There we go. So we got a tree here, and it's brand new newly planted tree. What we're going to want to do is leave it alone as much as we can because every single one of those leaves is a food factory for the tree. And it's very, very, very beneficial for the tree. And so we want to make sure to leave it alone as much as we can. But let's say you got your yard here and you got to cut the grass. You got this branch growing in. What you could do is you could reduce that branch back to a good lateral branch to leave most of that branch to continue to photosynthesize. However, eventually what you want to do is you want to start establishing the permanent branching structure. Probably not this year. I think you said when was that? 2 years ago. Okay, so you're getting into the time period where you can start pruning to establish the permanent canopy, but leave them on as long as you can. We'll talk about that other problem that Lucas brought up here in just a second. That's a very important problem. But essentially, you want to come in and you want to, every 6 to 12 inches, you want to have a branch. You don't want them too close together, because the closer they are together, let's say you got a branch here and a branch there, that's going to be a really weak branching structure and it can set the tree up for future problems. And we're talking decades down the road. So not a big deal now, but future establishment, you might have problems later on. So really important. You want to leave as much of the branching structure on as you can, because like I said, each one of those is producing for the tree the food that it needs to thrive and survive. So leave them on as long as you can, Dale. Hope that helps. And we are moving on. Where am I? Hold on. I'm like way too big here. There we go. What's up, y'all? I don't like that, actually. Can I? Let me see if I can make me square. So hip to be a square. There we go. That's not right either. Close enough. Oh, wow. Now you can see everything. All right. So hope that helps, Still. Move. Participant. The tree guys cut. Oh, man. This is gross. Cut every branch except the dead one. Why did they leave it? Well, because they're probably lawn guys that pretend to be tree guys. Oh, man, we did. Lucas brings up let me go back to Dale real quick. Hold on, before we do that. All right, so Lucas brought up a really good point. As you can see here, right at the base, you've got all this mulch piled up against the trunk. That is no good. You've got to get those root flares exposed. Make sure the base of the tree flares out real big. All that mulch that's there, get rid of it. It's no good. Keep it clean and let it breathe. Otherwise, the roots will come up and they'll wrap around the tree and start girdling the trunk, and that is no good. So, sorry, ADD here, but I hope that answers your question, Dale. All right, so tree guys cut every branch but the dead one. Yeah, that sounds like something a bunch of tree guys would do. I know my industry way too well, and I tell people I love what I do, and I really hate my industry because unfortunately, the certain powers that be don't do a great job of training the professionals. And quite frankly, I and a handful of other guys are out there working to actually regulate the industry. We want to see tree care be a licensed industry, just like your plumber is licensed or your electrician is licensed. Because here's the thing, is tree care is the #1 deadliest industry in the US and #3 overall in the world. My wife knows these statistics, and all the guys that make those statistics, their wives know those statistics too. And so we want to make sure that we're safe. And quite frankly, a lot of that has to do with, we just got to regulate it. I am not into government oversight. I think that I should be free to be able to do what I want, take care of my family how I see fit. But also we need to make sure that there's some sort of parameters that people have to follow in order to go out and do tree care. Very important. So especially safety. Yeah, it's safety, but not only safety is, somebody came in and they messed up this tree and they don't know what they're talking about and they prune the daylights out of it when this tree really needed to be left alone, because all of those limbs, all those leaves they cut out here are going to produce carbohydrates and what we call photosynthates for the trees, which can be the building blocks in that specific area. So if the leaves are here on the branch, so they got this branch here. Excuse me, I'm not an artist. This is kind of roughly the tree. So you got this naked spot right here where there's some damage. And well, each one of those leaves that would be here producing, I'm like the worst artist on the planet, y'all. This probably looks like something perverse, but it's not, I promise. Those are leaves. All right. So we've got all these leaves here. Good call, Lucas. You've got a dead limb here, and the guys came in and they just took off all these freaking leaves that were producing all the photosynthase that this particular damaged spot needs to seal. And so they just made the problem worse. Why did they do that? I wish I could tell you. They know one style of pruning, and that's the lion's tail pruning. And lion's tail, if y'all remember, we talk about it all the time on this channel. It's so bad. That's where you take, just think of a lion's tail. It's pretty self-explanatory. You got a branch that goes out and a little puff of leaves out on the end there. And that really changes the physics of the tree. It damages the photosynthesis of the tree and the overall health and well-being of the tree. So don't do it. Don't let your landscaper prune your tree, and make sure you vet your tree guys before you let them cut your trees, because, oh my goodness, it just takes one pruning cycle to permanently set the tree up for failure. That's no good. We're moving on. Amy asks, where you at, Amy? In Big Rapids, Michigan. We planted this Montgomery cherry tree a few weeks ago and not sure what's happening. We've had a ton of rain, so not sure if it's too much water or something else. Oh, not in Michigan. Stillwater, Oklahoma. Can it be saved? Probably. It's not too late. Young trees are very resilient. Let me go. I'll show you my YouTube channel here. This is the back end. I was just uploading another video here about palm trees. Hey, look, we got a thumbs up. That's great. Let's go through. I'm going to send you a link on this one. I think Amy was your name. All right. So this is called radial trenching, and it's a really cool technique you can do. Most trees are planted improperly. That's very normal. I don't know if you guys did it or somebody else, but Shayton, am I pronouncing that right? Mr. Greystone says, did you dig the hole 2 times as deep and wide as the pot it came in, and then add heavy amounts of organic compost blended to the native soil? If not, it's probably waterlogged in clay and heavy soil at the root ball. You nailed it. Now, I would only alter that statement to say you don't want to go deep. You want to go wide. You actually want to go a little bit higher. And it looks like maybe the tree was planted a little too deep, Amy. So you might want to check the root flares and make sure they're exposed. But I think, yeah, water is going to be your biggest issue there. By the way, y'all, for those of you watching, all right, I'm gonna go big here. For those of you watching, too much water gives the same exact symptoms as too little water. There, I said it. So if you've got a tree and it looks like it's wilted and drying, you know, so many people go in there and they just water the daylights out of it every single day, and that's just driving the nail in the coffin. So be careful you're not watering too much, especially if you got a new tree, heavy rain. I'd be willing to bet money that you probably got some overwatering, or maybe not so much overwatering as much as it is a drainage issue. So check out that video and do the radial trenching. I think that'll help a lot, and keep us updated. Moving on. So Blake asks, I think this is an aspen tree. This year it had buds but no leaves. It made a few in these small growth things in one of the pictures. Ooh, that's funky looking. Any help or advice would be greatly appreciated. I would hate for it to die, I assume you're saying. So Bob is in Nevada. Ooh, that is some crazy growth there. I don't know. I don't think that's ball moss. That looks to me like a hormone issue. Fasciation is the word. Fasciation, maybe. That might be all sorts of wrong. But anyways, fasciation. It's usually a hormone problem. If you're in Nevada, I don't know what y'all's weather was like this year, but sometimes if you get the buds start coming out when it's really warm and then you get a hard freeze, it'll just do all sorts of damage. And that can actually give that same appearance that you're seeing here with all the funky. Man, I wish I could just take the camera and bring it outside. I got a little, I don't even know what kind it is. It's some sort of myrtle. And yeah, but I think that's part of the tree. And it did kind of the same thing. It's got this crazy weird growth to it. And what happened was we got this hard freeze and I ran out of heater tape to warm it up. So the other myrtle, it's like a ground myrtle. It's really cool. I got to look it up and let y'all know. But it's got all this crazy explosion of growth that looks just like what you're showing me here, Bob. So I would say you've probably got some sort of hormone changes, maybe due to the cold, maybe due to like some sort of herbicide. Look into that, and if you've got some herbicide damage, maybe that's it. Or if you had a hard freeze, that could have done the same. I hope that helps. Oh, Anna asks, where are you at? In Alamo City Dermatology. I don't know where Alamo City is, but oh, that's in San Antonio. Yes, I do. I know where that is. San Antonio. That's my neighbor. What's up, neighbor? All right, so branches on our oak have these needle nests and are dying. What's wrong with them, and is there a chance they can be saved? Well, I don't have a lot to go here off of here, Anna. I can tell you that is ball moss, and ball moss we previously said was just an epiphyte, and it does no damage to the tree. But a recent study came out of University of Florida, I think a couple of years ago, and they found that it actually produces allele chemicals, which will stunt. It's kind of like a growth suppressant. It'll stunt the growth of branches. That's why you see it on like a lot of dead or dying limbs. But you've got a live oak, it looks like, is real common in San Antonio, down there in the central Texas area. Man, you got a really stressed tree. I can't tell exactly what's going on, but the epiphytes, the ball moss is going to be a problem. You can actually get rid of it with baking soda, is the best cure that I know of, and it will dry it out. I got to write a blog and do a video about that. Kill the ball moss. The effing ball moss. There we go. Hope that helps. And yeah, reach out if you need us to look at it a little closer. We'd love to help at arboristondemand.com. All right. So Stella asks, squirrel has almost completely girdled. Wow, that's crazy. I don't know where Penistone is, but or paper bark maple. Is there anything I can do to save it? Tree is 3 to 5 years old. There's just 1 centimeter of bark strip. That stinks. Yeah, y'all. This is like plastic cone ring sold at Home Depot. I can agree with that. Yeah, keep it covered. Keep the critters out. That's going to be your best bet. What you could do is maybe try to spray some humic acid and molasses on there. That may stimulate some new growth to close the gap. You could try doing a graft, take one of the smaller branches and splice it onto that area. But, oh, man, you know, a young tree often has the resilience to be able to recover from that. So give it some extra resources, Stella, with some humic acid and molasses, maybe a little seaweed extract around the root zone to just improve the rooting a little bit. That tree is going to need a lot of help. And if it makes it, you know, that's a pretty cool story. So I'd love to see that thrive. I'm not going to give it a huge chance of survival, honestly. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but man, critters, y'all. So one thing that most people don't realize: squirrels are actually the #2 most damaging critter out there, right next to beavers. So deer cause a lot of damage, beavers cause a lot of damage, squirrels actually cause a ton of damage. And you know, they're great, but what they do is they sharpen their teeth and their claws, and that's really important for them. Otherwise, their teeth grow and they kill them or unalive them. Excuse me. So, anyways, I'm sorry that happened, Stella. What a mess. I was in a turf war with some squirrels. They would take my tomatoes and they'd take one bite out of it, and throw it on the ground. And so I'm not going to tell you what I did to them, but I won. Anyways, moving on. Fred, and I love critters. I love the aminals, but you know, that's my food. So sorry. Y'all go find the neighbor's tree. All right. Anyone know what this is? This is some type of an oak. Looks like a chinquapin oak or maybe a sawtooth oak, turkey oak, maybe. It's some sort of oak. You know what's a great, oak sapling, in case you missed a slide. Michael says it's 5 days ago. It says it's an oak sapling. Michael's right. Some sort of oak. It looks like maybe a chestnut oak even. But there's a really cool app. Let me see if I can. Let's see if I can look it up. Hold on. Uh-oh. My fingers ain't working, y'all. Picture this app is a mobile app that identifies. Playing piano too much. Yeah, or just I'm tired because it's been a very long day. And I was 2 hours late to our recording studio. This is a really great program, y'all. It's free on the interwebs, and on I think they used to only have it on Apple, and now they have it on Android as well. But really great app to help identify. I'll be honest, y'all. Full disclosure, I'm a professional, but there's 27,000 plus different types of trees out there. I use this app all the time. Picture this; it's a great app. Check it out and see. But yeah, it's some sort of chestnut, water chestnut oak, or not water chestnut oak, but chestnut oak or some sort of oak sapling. Hope that helps. Oh, there we go. Elaine says, we had deer eat our tree this winter. It should look like the second picture at this point. Is there any hope for the tree to look good again, or will it always be scraggly at the bottom? Oh, that's a great question. Let's see. Take a closer look. Yeah, it's got new buds. You're just going to have to nurture those buds. Try to keep the deer out of it if you can. Put some kind of barrier. Wall it off a little bit. But, man, those deer can be a pain. Like I said, I love the aminals, but, you know, it really stinks when you're trying to get a tree growing and they come in and just munch away, or you just rub their antlers on it or whatever. Squirrels, same thing. There's so much damage that's caused by aminals out there. But I think you got good hope. Try that, the humic acid and molasses. Spray the daylights out of that, and you should be able to stimulate a lot of new growth on those lower limbs. But yeah, you definitely want an evergreen tree to look like an evergreen tree, and you want all that new growth on the bottom. So that's going to be important. It looks like some kind of spruce maybe, or a fir. But yeah, hope that helps, Elaine. And what's up, Elaine? See you twice on there. All right, Chris asks, hi there, quick question. Recently decided to make some rings around my tree to plant some hostas. I like hostas. And in doing research, I found out that it is advisable to make sure the root flare is healthy and visible. There are small roots as shown in the picture that some have said to remove. Is it safe to do so without harming the tree? This is a cherry tree, and within the past 2 years hasn't seemed as healthy as the years prior. Just figured this might help that out to be flourishing. Please advise. Absolutely, Chris. I think you're on the right track. Go ahead and cut those little tiny fibrous ones. Those are very inexpensive for the tree. When I say inexpensive, I mean in terms of resources, in terms of carbohydrates that the tree has to produce through the leaves. Excuse me. So yes, go ahead and snip away. I think that's good advice. And what you're trying to do, because here's the thing. Anytime I make a pruning wound, we call it that. It's a pruning wound. It damages the tree. And there's a guy that we call in the industry the father of modern arboriculture. His name is Alex Shigo. He's PhD back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And he really figured out how trees work and the physiology behind them. And he used to say all the time, he'd say pruning is one of the best things we can do for a tree and one of the worst things we could do to a tree. And what he meant by that is by pruning, we're actually damaging the tree. That is not a natural thing to do. However, if you've got a tree that's growing in the wrong direction, like for example, Chris's roots here, those small fibrous roots are not going to help that tree right up against the trunk there. He needs the root flares exposed. That is far superior. And so by pruning them, yes, you're damaging it slightly, but in order to get the greater cause, which is to establish a strong, healthy root system. So I have no problem with that. As long as the tree is not really suffering up top, I'd say go ahead and prune those little fibrous roots off and get it growing in the right direction. I hope that helps. Stephanie asks, we've got this fallen tier oak tree in our backyard. I feel like it's going to grow up into those neighbor's trees too much. Thinking about cutting it around 5 foot and putting a bird feeder on it. Not sure whether to keep it. I mean, your neighbor's trees aren't your trees. So I say keep it. I mean, that's my humble opinion, honestly. I don't see why not. I mean, it's a nice, actually. So anytime you're looking at the structure of a tree, again, if there were such a thing as a perfect tree, you would have kind of a pyramid shape. You'd have primary leader up top. There's a leaf, sort of. And then you'd have everything else branching subordinately off of that. And it would look essentially like a pyramid. Now, we all know perfect doesn't happen in nature and trees adapt. So it's probably not going to happen. Oop, I forgot to do this thing. What's up, y'all? Okay, so if there were such a thing as a perfect tree, it would look like a pyramid. And you'd have one primary lead and everything branching out there. And let me go back to Stephanie's picture here. This is a gorgeous structure that you've got here. So you are on the right track there, Stephanie. I think you've got the beginnings of greatness to your tree. So I'd say keep it. It looks like a fine oak. And quite frankly, if your neighbors decide to cut down all of their trees, now you got nothing. But if you keep that tree, yeah, you got something at least. What just happened? Oh my goodness, where did I go? I clicked the button. I got this fancy mouse, like gamer style or something. And hold on. What's up? Oh my goodness. All right, we just got a new person join. What's up, new person? Thanks for joining us. Where are we? We're way down here. Yeah, I think it's got one of those back buttons like a gaming mouse or something, like some sort of fancy something or other. I'm not good with all this fancy tech. I don't play too many video games. Who's got time for that, y'all? Yeah, I've been playing like Roblox stuff with my son. It's actually kind of fun. I hate to admit it. I really hate to admit it. Oh my goodness, we do have a lot to go through. What's up, Stephanie? There you are. No, that's it. I got it. You're just delayed. I'm talking to Lucas in my ear, y'all. Okay, 2 winters ago, Michael asks, 2 winters ago, I made the mistake of pruning off the berry-like fruit and remained after the leaves dropped. That remained after, it looks like I killed the last 12 inches or so of each branch. Is there anything I could do to reverse the damage by tree now dying a slow death? That's a heck of a post, Michael. I like it. Okay, so it looks like a Chinese pistachio maybe, or some sort of hickory. Tell me if I'm wrong here on that. Berry-like fruit might be Chinese pistachio. I see a couple things. I see a really, really well-manicured lawn. I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark and say maybe the tree was planted 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 3 or 5 at the most. I think what you've got here is the roots have hit the edge of the planting site, wherever they planted it, and they've really just come to a stopping point where they can't grow any further. So the tree is essentially, we call it retrenchment. It is in the process of lowering the canopy by unaliving off the upper portions. And so I think that's what's going on here. It looks like all that new growth on the trunk here is maybe a part of that tree's survival technique. And really what I would do, I'm going to go ahead and post this again, because this will be a great way for you to maybe reverse that and start getting it growing in the right direction again. Oh, yeah. And that's another good point is you've got, what am I doing here? You've got a little bit of mulch covering the root system. So you want to open up that soil on the outside of where the planting site was originally and let the roots grow out there. Radial trenching is great for that because you're basically creating these little trenches for the roots to grow into and start getting established properly. And if you think of like a hub and spokes here. So radial trenching is basically, oh, that's the worst color to erase. Goodbye orange, that's not working. All right, so if you think of like, here's your tree in the middle, and then here's your planting site, there's your canopy of your tree. So generally you want that to be 2 to 3 times. And then what you want to do is just draw little trenches away from that planting site and backfill it with some compost. And you want, they should be able to see it now. I got it full screen on the on just me. Really? All right, is that better? Nope. I think you're delayed. I think Lucas is delayed. What a slow poke. Get on my level, Lucas. I'm knocking pens like All right, so essentially here's your tree. You've got your planting site 2 to 3 times the diameter of the actual planting container it came in. This is so critical, you guys. Stop planting tiny little holes and sticking your tree in it. That's like going to mess them up so much. And then you basically draw radial trenching as you draw these little lines radiating away even further beyond that original planting site. And you basically just backfill it with compost and mulch. You can add some bioorganic fertilizer, things like that to stimulate some new good growth. That's going to just send these clear channels for the roots to start growing that direction, in the right direction. And it's going to increase the surface area and make it easier for the roots to break into the existing soil. It's a really good practice. It's not necessary. It's not ISA, ANSI standards or anything like that. But it's just something I found that really helps. And I've got a 98% success rate with my plantings. So maybe it works, give it a shot. All right, Michael. Oh, does that say Michael? What's up, Michael? Same Michael. Bought a 30-gallon red oak tree 3 years ago. Bark at one spot always looks damaged. Yeah, I agree. During a windstorm and fall, it completely snapped, revealing that much of the trunk was dead, unalived. Sorry. It's been tight trying to grow back in the spring. Should I let it grow? Will it survive? Or am I better off digging it out and planting a new one? You know, you can restore that. You can. I think it's going to be an uphill battle, and you may be better off just biting the bullet and getting a new one. But you know, if you want a fun project, give it some do this. Do the radial trenching. That's going to be really critical. And then give it some. We call it Microlife. Is a great product. Go to that website, check them out. If you need help getting it, I just started selling that as a distributor because I like it so much. And give it a shot. But you can give it some. They call it Soil and Plant Energy. Is the particular. Let's go check it out here while we're talking to you guys. Fertilizer products, liquid organics. I love this. Nope, not that. This stuff. Soil and Plant Energy. It's basically humic acid and molasses. It's got some fulvic acid and things like that in there too. Provides over 23 minerals. That's mostly in the molasses, but it's a really high quality product that you can spray on there. And then this stuff as well, Ocean Harvest, which is fish emulsion and rock phosphate. A couple other products in there: fish emulsion, seaweed extract, things like that, and foliar nutritional spray. This will bypass the root system too, spraying this stuff on the leaves themselves, and you can get really, really great results. It's basically like steroids for trees, and so, but it's all organic too. So anyways, hope that helps. I think you got an uphill battle if you do decide to keep it, but personally, I might cut my losses and take it out and plant a new one, just because that's easier. Get it set up right. Make sure there's no bark damage like that, because anytime you've got some sort of decay or damage to the trunk or bark, that's going to be just a weak point on the tree. So hope that helps, Michael. Chris asked another question regarding cherry tree roots. If I have one large root from the tree breaking the surface almost, should I make sure it remains at the surface or cover it slightly with mulch? Thank you. I'd leave it. You want to make sure that if the tree put it there, we got to have a better reason to take it off. So if it becomes a tripping hazard for your grandma, go ahead and take it off, or cover it up and start slowly amending that. The rule with covering roots and raising terrain, no more than 2 inches per year. Y'all do not overdo it, because every amount of soil that you add to the surface is that much soil that air and water have to penetrate before getting to your roots. So go gentle with it, but honestly, it looks like that's kind of out of the way. I'd leave it, let it grow. I will say this though, Chris, you've got, where are we at? Lead page. I hope this works, you guys. Please don't break it. Okay, so I'm looking at body language of the tree. Trees don't talk, so I have to look at what's the tree doing. And if you notice on this one side right over here, Chris, you got just kind of drops off where it's not flaring out like it should. And so I might dig down there and see if there's any girdling roots or anything obstructing that root flare from expanding out. Because to me, it looks like you maybe have some issues there. So check it out, dig down there a little bit. Be gentle not to damage the tree, of course. Let's see if you've got something there. If you do have a small girdling root that's compressing against the trunk, go ahead and snip it off. While it's young like this is the best time to do that. All right. Janet asks, Hunterdon County, Glen Gardner, New Jersey. New Jersey, by the way, is the Garden State. If y'all haven't visited, it's a gorgeous place. There's some really neat parts of New Jersey. Also, stay away from the city. That's humble opinion. We were out, my wife and I, and we kind of went off the deep end, and we moved to New Jersey for about 1.5 years. We spent out there. New Jersey, right next to the border of New York and Pennsylvania on the northwest side. And it was gorgeous out there. Fall, you get like these golden raining leaves. And I'm from Texas. We don't have that, so it was awesome. Okay, the leaves on certain trees are coming down like it's fall. Weather has been average, not sure of species, so I posted a picture. I also am not sure of species. Janet, I'm sorry. Looks to be maybe some sort of maple, though. Now, yeah, it might be a maple. It almost looks like an herbicide type damage, but there could be 1,000 things that are going off of that. I can't really make a determination based on the pictures. But you've got some sort of stress going on there. It's actually pretty normal for a tree to defoliate early like that. But it's basically like the tree's way of saying SOS. So you want to look into that. You know, we can hop on a Zoom chat and do a digital arborist consultation, maybe see if we can figure out exactly what's going on there. But hit us up on arboristondemand.com and maybe we can help you out. Sorry, I can't help you more, Janet, but I'm not seeing a lot to go off of there, but hope that helps, and hopefully we'll be able to get on the Zoom chat and really figure out what's going on there. All right. So Mandy asks, looking for advice about our maple tree. The top canopy came in spindly this spring. The bottom third is normal, but some of the leaves are sort of red/brown. There were also a couple bumpy leaves and red things. Is it okay? Do I do anything? All right, so the bumpy leaves and the red things those are galls, and essentially insects sting the leaf and lay their egg in there, and then the tree kind of forms like this weird callus growth around it. That's pretty normal. It is a sign of some sort of stress, and you definitely got something going on there. Let me see if I can zoom in a little here. Ooh, root flares are okay. To me, it looks like maybe you've got some compacted soil, but I could be wrong. Okay, so this is, there's not a lot of space between each leaf. That tells me that the leaves are not producing very effectively. I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but you've got a really stressed tree, I can tell you that. And so you're going to have to take away whatever stressors are attacking the tree and suppressing that growth like that. And we just have to figure out what it is. To me, it looks like some sort of herbicide damage maybe, or lack of aeration in the soil. And maybe just a little, we call it vertical mulching, might be a really, really great trick to do to help it along. Let's see if I could do vertical mulching saves trees. Oops. Y'all hear this? I won't make you watch this. I'm going to post the link here and check it out. See if maybe that's an option for you guys. Vertical mulching is, you need a drill, and you need a drill bit, and you need some mulch. It's real simple. But check it out and see if maybe that can help. To me, it looks like you've got some compacted soil. I could tell it's well manicured. And so that's a pretty sure sign. Oh, you got the cross cut even on the grass. You got those lawn guys just going to town on that. So beautiful yard, beautiful background. Also, that may be part of the problem. To me, I see compacted soil in an anaerobic condition. This one I answered through the week because I saw it come in from Alex. It says, does anyone think this tree is salvageable? We have little tree weevils / beetles everywhere, so I assume they're the culprit, partially. The damage to the tree is a bit spongy, so I'm not sure how much of the trunk is still solid. Like none of it, Alex, none of it. We just moved into this house, and I'm nervous the next big storm is going to snap the trunk right in half. I don't know why the photos uploaded sideways. Can't figure out how to rotate them. That's okay, because I can turn my head like this. Yeah, the tree weevils aren't the big problem. They're a secondary pest. The main problem is fungal pathogens have consumed the cellulose and the lignins. It's called brown rot. And so brown rot is a special kind of rot that makes the tree extremely brittle. There's not a lot of fungal pathogens that do that. Most of it cause a soft rot or a white rot, which mostly destroys the lignins and the hemicellulose. The cellulose is what's being attacked here too, and that's what gives the tree its rigidity. And so, yeah, you got to get rid of that tree, man. Especially being on the backside of the lean. So let's do a little drawing here for you guys. Boom. All right, so we talked about radial trenching. That's cool. That's not going to help you here, Alex. What you need is some just emergency tree removal. So you got your house here. Sorry, I'm a horrible artist. You've got a tree. Let's say it's leaning. I know it's not, but just to give you an example. So you've got your tree here. Got to get a root flares like a good tree should. All right, so if you think of a pipe as really, really solid, and the reason being is just the physics of it, is that outer ring, as long as it's intact, then the tree is really solid. Now, on a deciduous tree, it holds about 85% of its strength on the what's called the tension side. So imagine you got a rope up here and you're pulling the tree opposite the lean. So this on the back side would be the tension side. And as soon as you lose any type of strength there, whether it's from physical damage, mechanical damage, some sort of fungal pathogen, borers, etc., all of a sudden that tree becomes very brittle and very likely to snap right at that decay point. So it is absolutely critical, I think, that you get this tree out of here, Alex. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but man, what a hazard. And you got to get that out for the safety of your family. I'm sorry. I know it's a new home and that just stinks. But, especially like seller disclosure. Where you at, sellers? Disclose that, man. I'm sure you had an arborist look at it or somebody, because that's been like that for years. And so, anyway, sorry, Alex, to be the bearer of bad news, but man, you got to get something done with that tree, like get it out of there, basically. All right. Nikki asks, where you at, Nikki? Our tree is growing outward instead of upward. What should I do? Great question. You can actually train it. Now, looks like, I can't really tell what kind of tree that is. Maybe an ash, maybe a hackberry. No, it's not that. Cherry, maybe? What are you? I don't know. Anyways, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to train the tree a little bit. And what you can do, so you've got, sorry, Alex, you got to go away. I'm going to talk trees now. So you got a tree, you want it to grow up, and right now it's growing out. We call this upward growth apical dominance. And right now, your dominance is not in the apicals, it's in the lowericals. I just made that up. That's not real. All right, so you've got, essentially what you want to do is you want to direct most of the growth upward instead of outward. Now, some trees like live oaks, they just do that. They grow really wide, and that's a great thing. There's a lot of trees that are like that, and they're awesome. Like red oaks even have some sort of an outward, we call it an excurrent growth pattern, or a decurrent growth pattern, rather. And what you want is an excurrent growth pattern. You want it to grow it up. So what you could do is you can train it by stunting the growth here. Now, don't top it like I just showed you there. That would be bad. But what you could do is, let's say you've got some branches here that grow out. Well, you can actually reduce that back to one of these branches out here. Now, you got a mess of a tree here. Let me zoom back out a little bit so you can see it. But essentially what you could do, let's see if I can copy this actually. Where's my copy button? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. There we go. Come on, paint. It's gonna work or what? Maybe not. Copy image. There we go. What's up? There we go. Okay, so I'll just give you, ooh, I wish that was more evenish. Yeah, let's put it over here, and then we'll put you guys right over here. Okay, so one of the things, what you could do is basically come in here. Oops, I need a paintbrush, not this. All right, so you see here how you've got these trees, and I need a bigger size too. That's what he said. So maybe cut things like this back. What's up? Okay, cool. All right, so what you want to do is make little reduction cuts and start reducing the canopy height on this side. And you've got some limbs that I can see that you can prune back to. And what that's going to do is stimulate growth up into this area. Anytime I make a pruning wound on a tree, that's going to stimulate growth elsewhere on the tree. And so these are just some examples, but like here, let's say you've got a branch here, you can reduce these back to smaller branches and do that all throughout the canopy. And maybe, where's my markers here? I already threw the orange one. And essentially just do the same thing all the way around this tree, is reduce that back to some good lateral branches. And that's going to stunt the outward growth, and it's going to force resources into this. I call it training. It's, the Bible says, train a child in the way that he should go, and when he's old, he'll never turn from it. Not when he's young, by the way. I experienced that as a kid. I was an idiot, rebel, if you will. And so anyways, you can actually train the tree to grow upward, but it's going to take a little bit of maintenance consistently over many years. But I think you can do that. Now, I will say this, Nikki, is you've got kind of a situation where it looks like there's some dieback in the upper canopy. So I might figure out what's causing that, if there's some damage to the trunk in that area. I will say this, is your root flares are indeed buried, and that's never a good thing. And so you want to get that addressed as well. right in here. You want those to flare out real nice and big at the base. And otherwise, you're probably going to have the same problem throughout the entire life of the tree. So get those root flares exposed. If there's any roots that are coming across and girdling, get rid of those roots. Where am I? Hold on. I always forget to do this. I need like a hot button or something. I could just push it and it expands me to big screen. But if you've got any roots that are coming across, go ahead and get rid of the terrain, all that soil that's built up there, and expose those root flares. That's going to be really important. And like I said, if there's any girdling roots, cut them, because that will, I think that's maybe part of what's going on here. So hope that helps. And we are moving on. All right. Y'all, I may have to do this in 2 sessions. It's already 8:18. And what have we gotten through, like 10 or 20 already? We're not even halfway there. All right. Seth asking for some advice. This is a Latham cherry dwarf planted as a bare root in December. It seems to have settled into the soil at least 4 inches, if not more, since I planted it. You can see here that I've dug out around the base to try to get out to the flare. I've never had a tree settle so much in such a short amount of time. Should I try to replant it? It seems very happy otherwise. It is replacing a 3-year-old bare root Latham that was unalived by gophers. We don't have gophers here, so that's funny to me. No, I would leave it as is and try to amend the soil, take some of that extra dirt away from the base of it. I think that's going to be your best bet, especially how long have you had it in there? In December, so about 5 months, 6 months. So yeah, that's pretty quick. That's probably just because all that soil that you put there was actually not supposed to be there. I think you're getting down to the root flare like you should. That point right here that we're looking at, this, by the way, y'all, is a graft point. So any type of fruit tree, you've got a root stock and you've got a fruit stock. The fruit stock is the good, delicious, sweet cherries or fruits or nectarines, whatever it happens to be. And then they graft that on. Hold up. All right. What's up, big screen? So you got a root stock that's really hardy and durable. And then what they do is they graft that on to a fruit stock, which is going to have the perfect, delicious fruit. This is genetic modification at its finest. And it is one way that we as humans have found to cultivate really delicious, tasty fruit that grows well and produces a lot of money for the growers. And so typically you've got a root stock and a fruit stock. And so what you're seeing at that point is actually the graft point. That's not a bad thing at all. I would leave it just as it is and see as the tree grows, it might develop that flare even further. And you may be looking at it. Really, it's at the right space, I think. And maybe some of that settling is pretty normal and natural. Oh, man, I made me tiny. Wee little tiny Matt. Hi, there we are. All right. If you can't tell, I enjoy what I do. Those look like inchworms. My tree is covered in these light green worms. How should I treat? Well, you should let the birds have their way with them. If they start forming like tents, like these little, we call them tent caterpillars, look that up. And man, eastern tent caterpillar is one that's really bad around here. I may have to take a brief little moment to go put my little baby girl to sleep, y'all. I can hear her in the background. She's giving Mom a hard time. All right, so you'll see these like tents form like that. I don't see that as those. They do look like inchworms to me, and they'll chew on the leaves. But if they are tent caterpillars, just let the birds get them. If it's going to do major damage or invasive, then you'll know what insecticide is best. You know, I love a product called BT, Bacteria thuringiensis. BT, Bacillus thuringiensis. Hold on, I gotta look this up, y'all. Thuringiensis. Sorry if I still spelled that wrong, but I'm crunched for time, y'all. BT is a great product. Here's the thing, though, is we have what's called a pest threshold. And, man, those little caterpillars are phenomenal bird food. So if you can, let them go to town. Let the birds get it. And birds are great. You know, anytime you can support the native wildlife, I'm all for that. So Keep from doing the treatments. If it does get out of hand and it's at risk of defoliating your whole tree, go ahead and use the BT, because that is very specific to just those worms. Sometimes it'll kill like the larva of beetle and stuff too. But what it's not going to do is kill all your bees and your wasps and things like that, the pollinators, the butterflies. But like I said, if you can keep it at bay just through opening up those tents, use like a pole saw or something with a hook on it and just tear them open. That's going to be like a buffet for all the birds, and just let them go to town, man. That's a great food source. All right. Hope that helps there, Jamie. And yeah, I don't see any problem with it. Great bird food, like I said. Sandra asks, in Alabama, what is causing this pattern on my bark? South Alabama location. Man, that is wild, but I don't see it as a big problem. I see that as sapsucker damage. What kind of tree is that? Is that a pittosporum? Maybe olive. I don't think it's olive. I don't know what that is. Could be. No, it's not euonymus. I don't know what that is exactly, but that looks like sapsucker damage. But the tree looks like it's compartmentalizing really nicely. I don't think it's any sort of big problem. If you do start to get some canopy dieback or anything like that, maybe send me some more pictures and see. But I think it's okay. That is absolutely gorgeous, is what I would call that. Trees are really, really great survivors, and looks like the tree's compartmentalizing. When I say compartmentalizing, by the way, I mean sealing. And so all those little wounds that the sapsuckers make. By the way, sapsuckers, here we go. Let's do this. You know that it's sapsucker whenever you get like these little lines that go across. And so you got a trunk of a tree. I get this all the time, and they say, "Oh my gosh, I got borers." So they're doing those like straight line patterns. Can y'all see that or no? There we go. What's up? All right, so they'll do like these little lines that go in patterns all the way across. That's actually a bird, and what it's doing, sapsuckers, is it's poking little holes. The tree bleeds just a little bit, and it's sucking the sap. Man, I'm tired, aren't I? So generally harmless, but if it gets out of hand like this, and the tree seems to be struggling, then you might want to like keep the birds away with some nets or some sound machines or something like that. But it doesn't seem like a big problem to me. Maybe give the tree a little extra TLC and give it some of this stuff. This will just help to overall strengthen the tree. And you can fertilize it with this like 3, 4, 5 times a year without causing any type of burning or anything like that. Let me know, like I said, if you need help getting a hold of that. I just started selling that. And eventually, one of these decades, we're going to put it up as a product for sale on our website. So hope that helps, Sandra. And we're moving on. Alex asks, located in central North Carolina, USA, we have a weeping willow planted in spring of 2023. We believe our neighbor might have messed with it due to the dead branches, but recently noticed the trunk looking funny. Any help to identify what this could possibly be would be appreciated, as we have dogs that I don't want to be harmed. Ooh, what do we got here, Alex? This is weird. So yeah, that looks like some sort of burning, like a salt burn or a chemical burn of some sort. Maybe test the soil and see if they've done any sort of poisoning. I like this company, RAL Labs, out of Allen, Texas. Oops, that's not right. RAL Labs out of Allen, Research Associates Laboratories. They're a really, really good company. I've come to rely on them as a resource for a lot of my diagnostics and forensics, and I'll use it and I'll even go as far as to do like expert witness work and take some of their research and apply that to my forensics. So to me, that looks like that you might be onto something. You might have a neighbor who's doesn't like you and is maybe trying to poison it of some sort, but I don't want to accuse anybody of that. That's why we go through the diagnostics and figure out what exactly is going on. But yeah, that looks like some sort of chemical burn or salt burn of some sort. So sorry you're dealing with that, Alex. I know neighbors can be. What's wrong with people, y'all? Do y'all know? Oh, I do. It's called sin. That's right. Anyways, hope that helps, Alex. And sorry you're dealing with that. All that bumpy growth it looks like the tree's compartmentalizing, and that looks like we call it witch's brooming. And witch's brooming is essentially, it's typically some sort of chemical or phytotoxicity issue It can be caused by a lot of different things, stress induced essentially, but I see that a lot with chemical phytotoxicity, chemical burns, things like that. All right, so we're moving on. Ramirez. What just happened? There we go. Ramirez. Yeah, I don't know if you can see this. It's like pink outside. Can you see that color? Am I about to? Is it like the apocalypse? Maybe. I sure hope so. Oh, Luke is saying we got like a pink moon tonight. A blood moon, I think they call it. Man, it's gorgeous out. I'm not gonna lie. A little different from blood moon, he says. Pink moon. I don't know what that means. All right, so Ray's asking, lost a limb on the right side and looks uneven now, plus new limbs have emerged at the base. Should I cut the new bottom limbs off, including the thick one on the bottom left? Help, not sure what to do. Well, you got a tree that's planted too deep, so you're going to want to expose those root flares, and then again, go through and do that radial trenching. That's going to open it up. But the tree was planted too deep. I agree with Shem. Brilliant. Shem says, leave them for now. Lower limbs help develop trunk taper. I agree. Next year, reduce them slightly to keep them from becoming larger than a third of the trunk diameter. Armin Schwab Hill. What's up, buddy? I remember you from back in my tree climbing days. He's a top-notch climber. Cool dude. I used to network with him on the face webs and all that. But thanks for being here, Armin. There's radial trenching is going to be good, but yeah, you've got the root flares are buried, and you're going to want to deal with that, and you're going to want to just improve the overall health of it. So hope that helps, and we're moving on. Great advice, fellas. Thanks for being here. All right, so Megan asks, I asked about my massive black cherry tree, whether it would be salvageable, but it was too close to the house, so we had to cut it down. Just wanted to share the images. First 3 pics are before, the rest are after. Oh my goodness. Wow. I am so glad, Megan, we made that decision. Wow, that is wild. Okay, so this one we looked at and I said, look, that is too close to the house. Whenever we're looking at potential structural failure, we look at A, what's the likelihood of failing? And B, what are the consequences? And I always joke and say, if a tree falls in a forest, who cares? That's future food for all the other plants and critters that live. But if a tree falls on your family, that's no good. So we want to make sure that, anytime that there's a hazardous tree, if it's out in the open, who cares? But if it's going to cause damage to your property, your home, or the people that you love, like absolutely got to do something about it. I'm sorry, y'all. I know some people disagree with me, all you religious nuts, but humans are greater than trees. That's all there is to it. We love trees. We protect and preserve trees as best we can, and at all costs, except for the human life cost. Human life cost, it's got to go. All right, so you can see here all that decay spread way down deep into the trunk. Megan, I'm so glad you took the advice. I'm so sorry you had to take that down because that is a phenomenal tree. But man, I sure am glad for the sake of your family that we made that decision. And wow, the guys left a very tiny hingewood. Not a fan of that, but otherwise at least they got it down safe. And it did not come crashing down on your family in the middle of the night. So well done. Thanks for playing. And like I said, I'm sorry we had to make that decision, but really glad for y'all's sake we did. So moving on. Matt Rung says, our sycamore tree has within the last couple of days wilting and dropping leaves. We're in southern Wisconsin. The only other times I've seen this is when it gets too hot for extended periods of time. We're in extended drought. Is it dying? I don't see any signs of stress or disease. What is that? Sycamore. Okay, that's what I thought. American sycamore. We have been getting small but regular rainfall. We are considered abnormally dry, and temps have been typically in the 70s. The tree also does not like to drop its leaves until December or January, and they are huge. I can't remember the name of it. Multi-deciduous or something like that. I had a friend come up with a term, and he said like sycamores just kind of do that. Whenever it gets super hot, they drop their leaves a couple times a year, and they'll reproduce. And like I said, it's not abnormal for a tree to completely defoliate and then refoliate as needed. But that to me, it looks like you got something going on. That could be some sort of chemical or herbicide or phytotoxicity issue. That doesn't look like a normal, like it just got hot and the leaf dropped in order to preserve. So here's the thing is all of those leaves are going to breathe. They're going to expire in off gas water vapors and air, essentially, mostly water vapors. And what that does is think of like a drinking straw. Here we go. We're going back to the board. Think of it like a drinking straw. Is as the leaf expires, think of like okay, so here's your tree, and you've got all these different tubes that go up it, and like millions and millions and millions of them. And they're attached to a leaf somewhere, all the way down to a root fiber somewhere. And so whenever the leaf expires, what it's doing is creating a negative pressure all along that trunk, and that's going to pull water from the soil, bring it up into the canopy, and bring all those nutrients that the tree needs as well with it. And so whenever the tree gets to a point where maybe it's too hot or there's a drought, a lot of times the tree will actually defoliate so that it stops doing this. Because if it loses too much water and there's nothing to pull from the soil, that can unalive the tree. So it doesn't want to do that. Trees are genetically, again, they're programmed for success, y'all. Trees are like the ultimate survivors. That's why they last hundreds or even thousands of years. But this is different. I think we can see here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let y'all see what I'm seeing. So you see these weird, funky looking shapes. I would look into maybe chemical drift of some sort. Did the neighbors put something down? Did you put something down? Maybe an herbicide or maybe like a weed and feed type product or a pre-emergent type product, and look into that, because I don't know, but to me it looks a little sus, y'all. It seems to me that maybe something else is going on, and neighbors often will come in and I don't want to say, can I say poison and not get doxxed? I don't know. I don't care, honestly. Not right now. It's too late and I'm too tired. I was telling you guys, Lucas and I were up at KTRH Studios and doing some recording today. It was just a chaotic kind of day. So, by the way, this was June 8th. Today is 4 days later. We hit over 500 members. So that's like we're at 538 to 539 now. So that's like 10 a day, you guys. This is awesome. And thank you guys so much for being here. It's really exciting to see this grow. And I hope that we're having a good impact on you. This just makes me happy to do. We're looking at Megan's trees here and to do what we're doing, because I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe nothing would have happened in the near future. Maybe Megan would have moved, but we made a decision and she acted on that. And that's why we do this. It's because trees are great. They can also be very problematic, and trees are only great when they're healthy and thriving. And when they become problems can be big. Like people unalive because of trees all the time. I actually just took a court case where a guy unalived because a tree fell on him. So it's sad, but we got to make good decisions with trees because we love them, but we also live under them. So, all right. Brian asks, I have a Brandywine maple about 14 feet tall with a 3-inch diameter trunk that curves awkwardly in one direction. Got a rope tied up to it to force it straight in hopes it will make a difference. Does this method work? It does not. Nope. Let the tree grow, because the thing is it's probably grown in that direction because it got blown over in the wind, or because there's some sort of light that it's growing towards. We call it phototropism, photo being light and tropism being growth towards. That's the Greek, whatever on that. But let it grow. Whenever you put a rope or any sort of guy wires or anything like that, you're actually stunting the growth. And I say, when you stake a tree in the ground, it's like you're putting a kid in a wheelchair and then asking them, to run afterwards. And it really just stunts the growth, because every time the wind blows, that's like the tree's going to the gym. It's going to micro fracture that trunk and those roots and those branches on a very, very small level. And the tree's going to fill in the gaps. Just like when, especially us dudes with testosterone, go to the gym, we're actually breaking down the muscle fibers and our bodies fill in the gaps. That's why we drink protein shakes and stuff, because we're filling in the gaps. Trees are the same. Let them move. Do not stunt them from moving. Very, very bad. All right. Sean asks, can you tell me what's going on with my autumn blaze maple? It got rubbed by a deer last year, and now this seems to have gotten worse over the past few weeks, and the advice would be terrific. Actually, yeah, sun scald. I'd maybe second that a little bit. It's on the mend. Yep, I agree with Shem. When I say actually, that's exactly what I meant. Is like I kind of see a different thing. Like, yes, there's damage there, but all that new growth there, all that little callus tissue that's forming around there, you might see the bark fall off, but that's okay. The bark has already been unalived, so it's not going to be damaged any further. The tree is repairing itself. We call that, so trees grow in a principle called coat it. And that was a coined term by that father of modern medicine. We talked about Alex Shigo earlier. Coat it stands for compartmentalization of decay in trees. Did. I don't know, that's a stupid analogy. Compartmentalization. Oh my gosh, that's a freaking big word to write. I wish I didn't do that at this point of decay in trees. Well, thank God the last four letters were way easier to write. So compartmentalization of decay in trees. When you and I heal, we actually replace the tissue. That's that scar tissue. When trees heal, they don't have the ability to do that. So what they do is they seal, they grow around it. And so whenever you've got, let's use old Sean's tree as an example here. So you got a maple, you got a big gash in it. What's happening is the new tissue is growing, and eventually what it will do, it will close that wound with all of those new layers of new growth. And so, Sean, keep it up. Your tree's actually on the mend. Keep that wire around it to make sure the deer don't get it anymore. But go ahead and hit it with some molasses and seaweed and humic acid. And I think you're on the right. I think you're on the right path there. I know it seems like it's getting worse all of a sudden, but it's actually on the mend, like Shem says. He's on the right track. And yeah, just give it the resources it needs. I think you're going in the right direction. So Joey asks, I have a flamethrower red bud. Flamethrower red bud. You know, those red buds, they come up with the coolest names with them when they hybridize them. Oh, y'all need to see my screen, don't you? What's up? There's Joey's tree. Joey, where are you at? Coffeeville Community College. I don't know where that is. Coffeeville, I'm assuming. Planted about 4 days ago. We have thoroughly watered it the first day, and it's rained almost every day since. All of a sudden today, I have one branch. All the leaves seem to be crispy on. Any advice as to what the issue could be? I've done research online, but that basically says it could be anything from overwatering to parasites to root rot and underwatering. Isn't that how WebMD works? They're just like, you got a boo-boo on your arm and they tell you got cancer and you're probably going to unalive soon. New trees, y'all, new trees. Here's a general rule. Look, I'm gonna get up in your face here for a minute. New trees, it's almost always over underwatering. There, I said it. All right, we're done. So yeah, you've pretty much given me the story there, Joey. You got a lot of water coming in, a lot of rain, and I'm gonna go ahead and post this this shareable link here as well, because I think you probably would do well to do this radial trenching and see if that helps it out a little bit. But yeah, hold off on the water. You want your soil to dry out prior to re-irrigating. And let me show you one other one, because we just looked at a moon tree. So I've got this really cool moon tree that we take care of. Now, the Moon Tree Project is a really cool project that was started in NASA in 1979. And basically, what they did was they've got these trees that they wanted to see what are the effects of no gravity on seed germination. They took these little saplings and these seeds up into space. They took them around the moon a few times, brought them to Earth, and there were about 1,000 of them initially. Now, over the years, that was 79. That was however many decades ago. And a lot of them unalived. And so they realized, wow, we got these trees that are historic, that there's never, ever going to be any more of them. And so they propagated some new seedlings from them, from the fruit and from the seeds. They took cuttings and propagated them that way and things like that. They just tried to recreate these guys. And so one of them is planted at NASA Johnson Space Center. And I got a call because the tree was really struggling. And so we went out there, and it turns out they were just watering it every single day. And what's up, moon trees? I like that, Lucas. What's that? Yeah, some nut job here. Tree nuts. All right, so yeah, these are like NASA scientists, like the best of the best, and Project Paperclip and all that. I didn't say that. No, sorry. It was funny. I was asking the lady. I was like, "Yo, so we've got really." So they built this mound on the tree, and they basically they were overwatering it. Well, the soil below is compacted. It used to be an old like a concrete driveway, and so we got this issue right now. We just got to get the roots established, get this tree established. In the future, we got to figure out what we're gonna do to break up that concrete underneath, let the roots grow down into the existing soil. So I was talking to her and I said, hey, we're gonna have to like drill down and break up this soil, but I'm a little concerned we're gonna run into the alien bunkers down there. And she laughed about it. We had a good laugh on it. But anyways, yeah, that was the big problem there, is they were just watering it too much. Well, then we adjusted, and then it warmed up here in Houston because it gets to basically the temperature of Hades here in Houston, with a lot of humidity too. So probably even hotter. And the tree was still struggling, so we came back and amended the watering again. So you want to be proactive. Check the soil, take a screwdriver, jam it down into the ground. If it comes back wet, do not water again. If it comes back dry, feel free to water. But that's really important. I think you're just getting too much water there, Joey. That was a long roundabout sort of answer. Also, when you take a cutting from that dead limb, look at the cross cut of the stem and see if there is any discoloration or staining of the vascular system. This will help tell there is a bacterial or fungal infection. I love it. That is phenomenal advice. Armin, thank you for being here, dude. This is great. Transplanted a week ago. I've taken a cross section. Doesn't look like me in the damage on the vascular system. I'd say almost with certainty that is an overwatering issue, and with a room for error, please, just so I'm not wrong, because that would hurt my feelings. So anyways, moving on. Anonymous participant says, I'm currently working on replacing a fence around my yard. Part of it borders my cement patio and goes right by a tree. The previous fence was almost falling over due to it being pushed out by the tree roots. We have moved the fence line out about 4 inches and are relocating the post, but still running into a ton of sizable roots, trying to get 2 feet into the ground. I've seen videos of YouTube people cutting the roots out due to construction pretty carelessly. Yeah, don't do that. Please advise on how much caution I need to take in best practices for this scenario. Thanks. Well, Anonymous, let's go back to our handy dandy drawing board. I'm going to show you a little tree biology. So here's your tree trunk. And you measure it around here. You got about 12 inches. Now, what you want to do is you want to take that 12 inches and multiply approximately by 5. And that 5 feet is what we call the root plate of the tree surrounding that tree. Now, I don't know how big your tree is, but you can scale the math up or down no matter how you do it. So within that portion of that root plate is what holds about 85% of the trees up in the air. And so if you do a lot of damage in this general area, 5 feet around that 12-inch tree, you are at risk of the tree falling over. And so that is, like I said, that holds a very, very, very large portion of the tree up in the air. So use extreme caution when you're going in that area. If you can talk to your neighbor and say, hey, neighbor, I love this tree. You love this tree. We all love this tree. We're really concerned about causing damage to the root system and it potentially falling over in the next storm. Maybe see if you can work with them and see if they'll help you go a little bit on their side or move the fence a little bit over. I'll be honest, I would rather you see 1 or 2 nails go into the tree than I would see you causing extensive damage to the root zone here, because that can and will at times damage the root system enough to where it can fall over and cause catastrophic damage. So it sounds like you've got a pretty decent sized tree there. I would use extreme caution. Definitely be careful. All right. Hope that helps, Anonymous. Sugar Makeable. Maggie asks, oh yeah, Maggie, not anywhere. We had a fungal outbreak a few years ago. It took out our Japanese maple bush. Husband cut it down and came back to life full throttle. Japanese maple bush. That's cool. Those are actually trees and beautiful, beautiful trees. This tree is my favorite. Half of it looks dead, as unalived. Is there any hope for this tree, or should we cut it down? Oh, Maggie, that's rough. Yeah, that to me looks like a fungal pathogen of some sort. What you're going to want to do is you're going to have to reculture the soil surrounding it. So let me go back to my MicroLife channel here. These guys are awesome. They provide this product right here. And I'm going to go ahead and do this product right here as well. So AF stands for antifungal. This is not technically a fungicide, but what it does is it puts good bacteria into the soil that will culture and they will eat a lot of the fungal pathogens. So there's a lot of research on this trichoderma and various strains of that, and bacillus and streptomyces. And there's another one, Rhodopseudomonas, that's a really powerful bacterium that we're finding is actually will create a very healthy growing environment. Because here's the thing is the soil, think of it like the stomach of the tree, is whenever you go to the doctor and they prescribe to you antibiotics. Well, it turns out most of your immune system, 70% of it, at least what I hear, is in the gut. And what that means is you've got all these bacteria that will eat a lot of the bad guys. The good guys outweigh the bad guys. Think of it like a little battle going on at all times. And so if you've got an imbalance of those bad guys outweighing the good guys, and usually that's only like 1% or 2%. It's not a lot that it takes. But that fungal outbreak is because you've got some sort of a bad situation going in the soil. It very often, or most of the time, it has very little to do with you got a fungus. Because here's the thing, most trees got a lot of fungus going on in them. Just like you and I have staphylococcus on us right now. You got staph on you, Maggie, and like that's gross. But also, as long as your body is suppressing those pathogens, you're gonna be fine. Now, when you get immunocompromised, if you remember back to the COVID days, that's maybe the most recent and traumatic example that everybody remembers. They said it was the elderly and the weak and the immunocompromised that got it and had long COVID and all the problems like that, right? And the reason being is because their immune system was suppressed. So what you're going to have to do, if it's not too late on that tray, and again, we can always take a look at it in person, arboristonDemand.com. And did I spell that right? I don't even know. Anyways, you get the point. And we can do like a digital arborist consultation and really inspect it up close and figure out exactly what's going on, figure out what you're doing watering wise and all that, and see if we can get you going on the right path. But you're probably going to want to suppress the fungus for now, and that might require a professional. You might be able to, do that on your own depending on the situation. But the main thing is you're going to have to work really hard over the next 2-3 years to reculture the soil, make sure this doesn't happen again. Because I see it all the time. You get like this, all these different pathogens come in, and they just the shrubs go, the trees go, the grass goes, and what that is just a really systemic, big scale problem going on. And it sounds like maybe you've got some imbalances there, and you just need to course correct, stop the bleeding, suppress the fungal pathogens, and then get everything growing in the right direction. Most of that too has a lot to do with aeration in the soil. Soil breathes, believe it or not, you guys. All right, Joe asks, I planted a few emerald green arborvitae in March. I've been pruning some of the dead branches here and there, but some of these trees are getting discolored. He said, tell me what I may be doing wrong. I'm definitely a beginner when it comes to this. I try to water once a day. Oh, there's your problem, Joe. You got to stop that. Make sure to mix in good soil when planting originally. Not all the trees look like this, but at least 2 or 3 of my 11. I also noticed in my mulch, I'm seeing some sort of insects by the tree shown in the last picture. What's that last picture? Oh, that's a roly-poly. That's actually a close relative of a crustacean. They're, what do they call them? Terrestrial crustaceans. Like your crawdads and stuff. Shrimp is actually a close relative. Those are good guys. They're not bad guys. You don't have to worry about those. The problem is going to be you're watering every day. That's fungal at the base there. And it might be that you're hitting the leaves with the water itself, and it's just spreading it on those lower branches there. But you definitely got to slow down. Take that screwdriver test. Where am I? Shorts. Let me go back to like February. I think that was. Get out of here. Where's my one with the cool beanie? Here we go. Are you overwatering your trees? Try this simple test. And then there's one right after I link to it as well. Check that one out as well, Joe. But I think you're overwatering. You want to make sure you set your irrigation schedule to where the soil can dry out properly. That way you're not creating an anaerobic condition. Oh, yeah. Shem got it. Way too much. You want to get it down to like 2 days a week maximum. If you can get it down to no days. And he brought up a good point. Mixing good soil into a planting hole is not a good practice unless you're amending a very large planting area and not just the planting hole. I agree. And sometimes like in parkway trees where you've got super compacted soil, I'll recommend they go 10 times the planting diameter. So if you got a 12-inch tree, you want 10 times that. So 12-inch tree is 10 feet. By the way, guys, you want to go 10 feet and mend the soil all around that area to get the roots established because they're going to have a really hard time breaking into that. Or if you just live in Houston, you got clay like we do. Same problem. Spot on, Shem. Dude, you are on par, man. I love it. You're always giving great advice. Shem is in, Savannah, Georgia. If y'all need a phenomenal arborist, hit up Shem. He's a great guy out there and always giving great advice here. So thanks a million for being here. He works with a great company called Bartlett, too. They're one of the biggest in the nations. And quite frankly, there's a lot of big companies out there. Bartlett's one of the few that does it right. So, like I said, anywhere around the Savannah, Georgia area, Shem's your go-to guy. They're not the cheapest, but they will get you going in the right direction. And quite frankly, cheap is not always cheap. What you want is good value. Lucas, he's got good jokes in my ear here. I'm not going to repeat that, though. All right. Katie Ann Marsh. Hi there. Our tree had a few unripe small branches last year. What's up, Ben? Oh, that's so sweet. He's asking when we can schedule the work. He's a church buddy of mine that needs some help with his trees. Our tree had a few dead, unalive small branches last year, and we didn't think much of it. However, this year we noticed significantly larger portions die. We also noticed spots on the tree that look like they're rotting. We're not sure what's causing this or how to prevent further damage to the tree. Oh, what's up? That's my beautiful bride, y'all. Katie and Marsh, we've had fast growth in the group, so Matt has answered questions in a live stream every Thursday night to cover as many as possible. Your question will get a time tag once it's been answered. Oh, you rock, babe. She's just awesome woman to be married to, just the love of my life, and I would do anything for that woman. All right, are there actually any arborists in this group offering help? I see a lot of people posting for help without any comments at all. Well, you just got to scroll down faster, way further down, because we have had a surplus. Katie Ann, sorry it's taking so long. They're here. These arborists also have jobs and families and don't reply as fast as one might like sometimes. A location will be helpful to determine the hardiness zone. The pictures are very blurry and hard to identify the tree species, let alone the culprits to a decline. Yeah, I hate to say it, but Katie Ann, but he's right. We really need some more clarity. Let me take a look at it a little closer and see if we can tell. But that is really fuzzy and blurry. You look like maybe some sort of phytotoxicity damage, but it's also only in that one spot. I wonder if you've got a fire pit there, maybe. Okay, so that is the tree is sealing. You can see the new compartmentalization tissue. It looks like that branch was cut and it never sealed properly, but the tree is sealing around that area. So not a cherry tree, is it, Katie? And is it? Maybe shoot me a message and let's see if we can identify that. I'm going to need a little clarification to figure out what exactly is the history there. But yeah, Shim's right. We need a little more. Okay, fungal canker from an old pruning wound there where spores could have been introduced, but it's hard to tell from these photos. I'm saying the same thing as Shim, is we need a little bit more clarity. And like I said, again, maybe we can hop on a digital arborist consultation and see if we can get you pointed in the right direction there. Oh, what is that? .com. What is this garbage? You know, I'm a really fast typer, except when I'm tired, and then nothing works. Come on now. Hold on now. I keep It says Comstock, John Comstock. He was the 13th man with the Texas A&M bonfire that collapsed. And really cool dude. He's a great guy, and he does kind of some like motivational type speaking. But okay, and hopefully we can get on a Zoom chat and figure this out a little further. But yeah, I'm gonna need a little more clarification because there are so many things that could cause that. I really wonder maybe if it's like a fire or. But I see the same as Shem as if you've got a little fungal pathogens coming down from that pruning wound. And typically when you see fungus like that, it's going to go from the stem, wherever the introduction is, and it's going to travel down the trunk of the tree. So brilliant, Shem, spot on. And sorry, we can't be of further help. Can this tree be saved? Oof. That's a weighted question with also very little information to go off of. All right. It won't come back if pruned correctly. You can't really prune. You have to get rid of all that dead tissue, unalived tissue. Oh my goodness. What is going on here? I can't read that much. This won't look the same as the tree next to it ever again. And that's if it doesn't have a root issue that's not being seen. Yeah, I think you better cut your losses on this one. I do see a little puff of green on the street side, but quite frankly, you know what? I see some, check this out, you guys. Construction is so bad for trees. All right, so I think what probably happened, the construction guys came in, they severed the roots. And if you notice, all of the damage is on the side of the roots that are severed. So the construction guys are at it again. I'm really sorry. I think you're better off taking the tree down and replanting. It looks like some sort of ash maybe. But, if it's an ash, depending on where you're at, that could be an emerald ash borer. But sorry, Jennifer, I think you should cut your loss. My parents said it's got to go. I can grab another photo if needed. Yeah, I'm saying the same thing. And honestly, your other tree is not looking so hot either. Let me check that one out too and see. Ugh, that's just gross. I can't really tell. It does look like some sort of green ash or something like that. Yeah, the opposite bud patterns on the leaves. Cut it. Yep. Shim says cut it. I say the same. I think honestly, you're probably better off. We got to look at the other tree too, but I'm wondering where you're at. Let's see if your name says it all. Oh, where did I go? Stop it. Where are you at, Jennifer? South Dakota. I'm pretty sure emerald ash borers are in South Dakota. Yep. Has been detected. Oh, man, if it's been there since 2018, it's 7 years later. Yeah, EAB is wiping out ash trees left and right, you guys. If you've got an ash tree, and you look it up because you've got to be proactive. Otherwise, you will not have an ash tree soon enough. So I would say you've probably got either root damage from the new construction on the sidewalk, or you've got some sort of pests like emerald ash borer or something like that. So help from the experts. Giancarlo from Virginia. This tree is huge and has always been healthy with leaves. This year, however, the bottom 4 branches have green leaves, but the entire top does not. I believe this to be an oak tree, but I am not really sure. Removed the wood pile next to it recently in case this was causing issues. Any help on what may be going wrong with this tree would be appreciated, and maybe how I can help this tree come back to life. Thank you in advance for reading. Pictures of the tree from far away, close, and the bottom. Ooh, that's not looking so hot. All right. Yeah, it looks like an oak. Yeah, maybe chestnut oak, maybe. I don't know exactly. Let's see what you've been. Y'all don't have a pile of firewood. It's just not a good practice. So, and it traps moisture in that area. So fungus is a really big problem often with your wood piles like that. So yeah, I'll be honest, Giancarlo, I don't see much hope for that. Oh yeah, look at that bleeding wound cankers there. So this is typically a vascular wilt fungus. Take a sounding mallet, like a rubber mallet, and tap on that and see if it's the same as as the wood on the opposite side, the woody tissue on the opposite side of the trunk. But yeah, oh man, yeah, you've got some bark loss here. I think the tissue underneath there, the cambium, is unaliving, and I don't see much hope for that tree, honestly. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, man, but like I said, feel free to hit us up. Yeah, Phytophthora, that's exactly what I was thinking, Shem. Oh my goodness, you're amazing. Yeah. Man, Phytophthora, it's so easy to identify. You see those bleeding wound cankers, and Phytophthora, certain species of Phytophthora cause what's called sudden oak decline or sudden oak death, and it's a really big problem in the Pacific Northwest. They're seeing it all over the place where these trees just like bam, they're gone. And we've got other varieties of Phytophthora here in Houston that I think Harvey spread it, Hurricane Harvey, where we had all the flooding. So it's a water mold type fungus. It acts as a vascular wilt tissue or vascular wilt disease. So I think let me go back to our drawing board here. Whoop. Where's my screen at? All right. Here we go. So you've got the trunk of the tree. And within that trunk are these little tiny vessels. Think of them like blood vessels. Can't see it. You're just delayed, Lucas. How about now? Whoa, about to knock this thing into me. Ah! Yeah, all right. So vascular wilt fungus are kind of like clogged arteries. Is essentially the fungus grows inside of the vesicles. Think of it like the vascular tissue of our tree, like the arteries and veins, and it basically just clogs it up. So as that leaf up top is expiring and creating a negative pressure, pulling water from the ground up the tree, all of a sudden it gets blocked there. And so what you get are these bleeding wound cankers that form here. It unalives the tissue, and then you get this little bleeding spot out of there that has like this discolored portion. And let me go back to Mr. Giancarlo's picture here, because that is a really great Phytophthora example. And Shem, I think you're spot on that. I would want lab samples to confirm it, but yeah, I think that wood there that was at the base caused the fungal pathogen to come in, and I think that unalived your tree there, buddy. So I'm sorry, but depends on where you're at. There's thousands, I'm sure, different varieties of Phytophthora, but it's a really, really common one, and it's becoming more common as we see more flooding and weather events, and as people water too much. Y'all stop watering too much. It drives me nuts. It's so bad for your tree. Hold on, I gotta fix this. All right. What's up, guys? Okay, man, I should have just minimized the screen when I did that. Yeah, I don't want to see all that. All right, so sorry, Giancarlo. I think you probably should cut your loss on that one and move on. Great firewood though, keep it, but just keep it away from your trees next time. All right, that's right, you guys. So many of you have shared this group, and thank you so much for doing that. I wrote a post. What is this? June 9th. Oh my goodness, it's 3 days ago. Saying that if you shared this within the past month, then I was going to give away a free 15-minute digital arborist consultation. I have not run the numbers on that, so I will do that probably tomorrow and get back to you. But man, I'm so sorry. Lisa, what's up, Lisa? Okay, so this is a really special case, you guys. We're going to do some work on Lisa's case, and we've got to create a special deal. But what are we doing here? Sorry, Lisa, I didn't mean to be creeping on you there. I meant to do this. So the power line company came in, and the tree is actually 12.5 feet from the power lines, and they did some massacre butchery. Not only that, they dropped a bunch of limbs on her other shrubs over here. So we're going to create a use case out of this. Look at all that damage from the carelessness of those guys. They just dropped all the limbs, and she's got all these beautiful 10-year-old lilac trees or lilac shrubs around there, and cut these big limbs that really didn't need to be cut. And we're gonna work on this case, and we'll keep you updated as we go along. They were just hack chopping. Now, tree guys are a different breed. This is why I want to see the industry regulated, is because tree guys just do whatever they want and get away with it, and it drives me nuts. So, It's unfortunate, but Lisa, I know you texted me earlier. If you're watching, I will get back with you shortly. I'm sorry. It's been a day and a half and a week and a half. So anyways, we're gonna work on that and get you going in the right direction. Make sure justice is done. What might be happening to these trees? Bob asks. Looks like you got some dead limbs, Bob. Ooh, that's interesting. Looks like you got two trees that grew together and formed a kind of a multi-stem trunk that fused together. What you're going to want to do is look at the structure of this and make sure you don't need to do a structural cable or support system of some sort. Ooh, it looks like a pin oak maybe, or a blackjack oak. That's a cool tree. Chlorotic a little bit. I don't know what this is, but it looks like moss or lichen and algae growing. Generally not a big deal, but man, I'm going to need some more context, honestly, buddy. I can't tell exactly what you're asking for here. I will say this is on the big tree. I think this is multiple trees we're looking at. Is you've got, oh no. All right, let's expand this. All right, so you've got two trees that grew together and became one tree. And so what happens is the only thing in the middle there is what we call included bark. Now, included bark is very, very weak structurally. And so like cork is used for wine stoppers. It's not used to build your house, right? And so what you've got is a structural weakness here. What I would probably say, and I can't see much here, Bob, but what I would probably say you're going to need to do is install a threaded rod here to tie those two together. And then way up in the upper 2/3 of the canopy, you're going to want to tie those branches together with a structural support cable. And again, that's one of those we have to really prescribe it on an individual basis and figure out exactly the best route to take with that. But I think we're going to have to do some structural support systems here and make sure that your tree's not at risk of splitting and just ripping in two, because that's no good. And so anyways, I'm going to need a little more context for the rest of that, but hope that helps at least for now. And we are moving on. Hello, I know nothing about trees. Is this an invasive thing that needs to be cut or new tree growth? I answered that. This is an epicormic sprout from the latent bud. Definitely a part of the tree. And as a general rule, if the tree put it there, we could have a better reason to take it off. See how it grows, though. If it looks kind of funky as it grows, you might have some sort of hormone issue going on. So just keep an eye on it and see. That looks to be maybe some sort of ash. I'm not sure exactly, but that'd be my best guess. Yeah, the structure of it looks like an ash. All right. Deer skinned it at 6 feet tall. Now it's 2 feet and weird growth. No leader, just a bunch of branches. Now what? Dig it up or keep it going. And I told him, it's a tiny baby tree. Tiny baby trees are pretty resistant to, or resilient, I should say. And so you probably got a pretty good chance of restoring it. You want to leave as many of the leaves on there as you possibly can for now, David, and just start restoring that. Once you get the tree established a little bit more, you can start pruning off some of those lowers and start forming that perfect 1 leader, everything else branching subordinately off of that. Hope that helps. Moving on. Looking for advice, recommendation on chainsaw chaps. My son's birthday, I want it to be a surprise to him. What you want is you want to protect, it's your son, right? So you probably love your son. You want to protect him as much as possible. Husqvarna makes a really good pair of wraparound chainsaw chaps. Let me go to treestuff.com, has a whole host of them. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go to arbsession.com. These are the new guys in the tree care supply industry, and they freaking rock. They're just awesome. They're really good guys, and you call them up, you got a problem, they're going to tell you exactly what you need. So hit them up on the website. It's arbsession.com. They don't pay me to say that. I'm smitten by these guys because they have really bailed me out on a few occasions where other guys did the wrong thing. So your chainsaw chaps, the general rule is the more money you spend on them, the better they're going to be. That's not always the case, but you want to spend at least $100. The cloggers, I love. Those are phenomenal pans. But realistically, you're going to want some of these like more of the chaps. Let's see if they have any actual chaps or if they're just going to do. No, I don't know that they actually have chaps. You may be. Let's see. Chaps. There's what I'm looking for. The functional Husqvarna functional chainsaw chaps. These are really, really great because they wrap most of the way around. You want as much protection as you can. Obviously, if you're here down in Texas, it gets really hot. So you might want a little less protection to make sure you don't pass out. But you can spend around $100 and get a really great pair of chainsaw chaps. Notch makes a really good one too. Very basic, very general. But the Husqvarna ones I really like. This is the one I was looking at, the full wrap chainsaw chaps. Those are nice as well. But anyways, hope that helps. And we are moving on. Oops. Actually, let me do this. I'm going to give you a link here. Boom. And boom. There you go, Vicky. Hope that helps. All right. Oh, gross. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Samantha? Anyways, North Carolina. And this also looks like Phytophthora to me. Could be about 12 other different pathogens at once. I'm a backyard gardener with very little tree experience, but our fig tree just fell over. I wanted to ask someone who might know. Tree able to be saved, and if so, how? My first thought is that part of the tree on the left is 50 weeks ago past my sure. Right side is toast. Also, it looks like maybe it was Robert's face. Yeah, that is serious fungal decay. And you can try, but I think realistically that is a goner, and you're going to have to replant. I'm so sorry, Samantha. Sorry, I'm butchering your name too, but yeah, I don't think you got a chance there. If you had any sort of root on the opposite side, I'd say maybe give it a shot, but that's too much gone. That's like 90% of the root zone, and if the tree doesn't have roots, then it doesn't have anything to absorb minerals and anchor it into the ground. So, all right, this fruit plum tree had a lot of dead branches this year. We trimmed a lot. Then we noticed this big crack. Our house is 40 years old. Guessing the tree is pretty old too. We're rebuilding the deck. Okay, so this one, I said it looks like freezing. And, honestly, it might be a great opportunity to remove it. They've got, I remember as we were looking into the tree, had a little bit more telling on it, but let's go back. Yeah, so you've lost so much of this. It looks to me like freeze damage, but I think you're maybe better off just removing the tree and replanting. Honestly, Caitlin, Hunter. I'm assuming you're just trying to hide your identity, so I'll do the same. But anyways, yeah, I think it's a lost cause. I think maybe if you really wanted to baby it, maybe you can, but it's taken some damage. You've got construction going on. And so if it were mine, I'd probably just remove it and replant it with something. And I told her too, like, this may be a great opportunity to just get a really great tree in the ground that will be a great food source for all your friends that come over and hang out. So hope that helps. Jason asks, leaves are turning brown on top of the leaves on my mature live oak, normal leaf turnover or something to be worried about? I don't know, Jason. It looks like you maybe got some fungal stuff going on, but that looks like almost a sooty mold. I'm going to guess live oak there. Yeah, it looks like it's me. Yeah, it looks to be like a sooty mold. Sooty mold grows on, I could be wrong, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong here. Ooh, who commented? Lucas, you silly goose, coming in there before I could get to it. That's great. He's on top of it, y'all. Give it. Lucas is just crushing it every time we do these. He's like way on top of it. This next one's funny. All right, so yeah, I think you've got sooty mold. So the problem with sooty mold is not just the fungus problem. Yes, there's a fungus, but the main issue is you've got an insect problem. Now, insects, all of them that damage your tree or suck on the leaves or chew on the leaves or whatever, were born without a pancreas. What that means is they don't have the ability to metabolize sugar. And so what happens, that sugar just passes right through it. We call it honeydew. That's our fancy, fun word for insect feces that have a lot of sugar content in them. And what happens, that fungus grows on that. So you got to get rid of the beetles or whatever bug is getting it. Neem oil is a great solution. Monterey makes a really good one. But try that out. Hit it about maybe once a month or once every quarter or so. see if that'll suppress the beetles or whatever's chewing on it, and see if that stunts the fungus as well. But overall, I think you're okay. The tree's not blocked, so the leaves aren't blocked so much that it can't photosynthesize. You just want to give it a little extra boost and see if you can help it along. Hope that helps. All right, so this is hilarious. Jeremiah Joseph Hammer, he's a great dude. He's really big, and well known in the McKinney, Texas area. Just a really cool down to earth dude. And we used to go to this little breakfast joint up in downtown McKinney, and he used to, I don't know if you still do, Jeremiah, but he used to breed Frenchies, French pugs. And he'd show up and you have this horde of all these Frenchies with him, and there's like 25 or 30 or 50 pugs or Frenchies walking around with him. And anyways, he said get rid of it before it gets infected with mistletoe. Infested would be the right word, but he's kind of right. Hackberry is not the greatest tree to have, but they're some canopy is better than none. So what I might do is try to nurse it along best you can, plant another tree, and then as that one goes out, get rid of it. But to me, it looks like some sort of herbicide damage, I think. Let's see what I said. Regarding your question, though, I'd be curious what killed your front yard. I'm wondering if herbicide damage. Yeah, that looks like herbicide. It seems like when they put the grass down, the ground was just left how it was, no prep. Yeah, the problem is you don't want to prep the soil too much because then you're damaging the roots of the tree. So it's kind of a catch-22 is like, grass is great. It does steal some of the nutrients from the soil. I'm not a huge fan of grass around the tree, but it's not far from the worst. It's far from the worst. But when you add sod, you're adding 2 to 3 inches of soil and grass, which is going to further prevent the soil from getting oxygen and water, or the roots for the tree anyways. And so, yeah, I think Jeremiah's right. You probably, I wouldn't pour a lot of resources into that hackberry. It's not the best front yard tree. You're better off planting something else, especially now that you've disturbed the soil, putting the grass in and all that. It's best to start from scratch. Let it stay there, let it fizzle out, and let the other tree grow. That way you got 2 trees. By the time the new tree gets established, now you can get rid of that tree and you don't really have much of a loss. So hope that helps. Rodney asks, I've got 2 large oaks with a lot of dead branches. When the best time of year to have them pruned? Anytime. Fall's okay. Yeah, fall's a good time. This being that the trimming of limbs right before or at the beginning of cold weather will help the tree be less susceptible to fungi or disease, allowing it to be susceptible into spring. I mentioned that to a tree guy, and he said that could be a problem, recognize the dead limbs from the healthy ones. Yes, that's true. I mean, a trained eye is going to be able to spot that pretty easy. Anytime is a good time. That's the right answer. Shem got it. Anytime is a good time to remove the dead limbs. So here's the thing. He's right. If you're in an oak wilt area, you want to make sure that you cover and seal the wounds. But generally speaking, an unalived limb, a limb that's not living, is going to be already chemically and physiologically separated from the rest of the tree. So you don't have to worry about it. You can pretty much prune any time of year. You can find the dates for that on your extension website. Yeah, so go to the local agriculture extension website, and I made a list here. So check that out. Find your local guys, give them a shout, and make sure that you don't have oak wilt. If you do, you definitely want to wait till winter, or seal the wounds as you prune them, or have the tree guys do it. So hope that helps, Rodney. Moving on. Just discovered these holes in one of our trees. Should I be concerned about the eaves? It's right by where my kids play. The tree's never lost any big limbs and seems healthy. Okay, that to me looks like a hackberry again. So I'm going to go back to Jeremiah Joseph Hammers. The thing with hackberries, they can look really healthy and be completely structurally decrepit. So what you're going to want to do is have a tree risk assessment performed on this to make sure it's viable to keep around. I do see those holes there. Although I will say this, Ashley, is that you've got some good compartmentalization tissue. So it appears that the tree is sealing those wounds properly. What you want to do, though, is really go in with a sounding mallet, test the wood to see where the decay is. If you want to get really serious, you can use some technology to actually map the inside of the tree. Actually, Shim and I were talking about that the other day. Is he's got access to a tool called sonic tomography, and sonic tomography is really cool. You basically let's do a little demonstration here. So sonic tomography, you basically got all these pins that you put around the tree. You got a tree. and then you've got all these little pins that you put around there, and then they kind of stick out from the tree. What you do is you ping one of them with a hammer, and what that does is sends a sound wave through the tree, and then all these other pins are recording the amount of time that it takes to get from one pin to the next. And what that does is if there's any decay, it's going to, if you've got solid tissue, the sound waves are going to travel faster. If you've got decay, it's going to have to go around that decay and to get to the other pin. So it'll take a little bit longer. What that does is effectively shows you like a map. So I've seen them to where you've got like, you know, this little bit of decay inside, and you could tell that by just placing the pins all around it, test it out. So if you really want to get serious, actually, you can actually have somebody come out, pay a local guy to come out and actually test the wood. But realistically, you might be able to just do some structural pruning and make sure the tree is less likely to fall and fail. And that might be a good solution. So you're right to be concerned about it. Because again, if a tree falls in the forest, who cares? If it falls on your kiddos, everybody cares. That's no good. So we don't want that. As much as we love trees, we don't love them if they're a hazard to our family. So you're on the right track there. And again, I'd be happy to get on an arborist consultation with you digitally and see if we can point you in the right direction there. So I'll go ahead and post that here. And there you go. All right, we're moving on. What can I do to stop these pines from dying? Is it possible to stop this? I don't know. I don't have enough to go off of here, Tiffany. I'm sorry. That's a weighted question. That's like, there's so much that could be wrong there. And I do not know, given that amount of data. It almost looks like some kind of needle cast, but no, it doesn't. I don't know. I don't even know what kind of tree that is. Yeah, but that could just be from the shade. These aren't pines. I agree, they're not pines. There's some sort of spruce, maybe cedar. Spruce, cedar, fir. I don't know, to be honest. We got to figure out what it is first of all, and then what's going on with it. So I'm going to second Shims and say we got to properly diagnose this before we can really give you an answer there. Shoot us some more pictures. And by the way, just a reminder, you guys, is, you know, as much as I love to give advice without enough data, it's really irresponsible and unethical of me to do that. So whenever you're posting these questions, make sure you get plenty of photos up close, far away, at the base of the tree. Give me some specific things that you're seeing and things like that. And that really helps us out when identifying what's going on. So anyways, hope that helps. Sorry. I can't even see. I really don't know, Tiffany. I wish I could give you a better answer. Where are you at? I don't know. I don't know is the right answer. I'm sorry, Tiffany. Feel free to drop some more photos in there. Let's see if we can pinpoint this down. All right. We got Casey Marie from somewhere. Says, hello, thanks for the ad. I'm in need of some help with my mimosa tree. Oh, Rhode Island. There we go. I have a mimosa we planted 4 years ago. It's about 4 feet tall. Today it's big. Grew fast. Yes, they do. It's my favorite tree. Well, and I got good news and I got bad news for you. I actually really, really like mimosa trees, but they're not long-lived trees. She says, last year we had some kind of worms eating it, and also my 2 birch trees. It looks terrible. It looks terrible. I would post pics from last year when we first planted it. I added captions to all the pictures. Today the branches are pretty bare and only growing in the top. I don't know what's going on. I do not see any worms on it yet. There are also quite a few dead yellow leaves. It hasn't been to go yet. I don't know what that means. All right, let's see what the captions say. Captions, there are no captions. Oh, you got some sort of mites going on there. That looks like mites. All that webbing down there is telling me mites. That's normal on mimosas. See, the problem with mimosas is they're beautiful, beautiful trees. If y'all haven't seen mimosas, look them up. They are gorgeous. Little pink flowers on them typically. I think they've got some other colors too. Okay, so the yellow is going to be some sort of fungal pathogen. I'd say a vascular wilt type fungus. Today's damage. It's not growing, only on the top. Yeah, I'd say some sort of vascular wilt fungus. You've got some mites and some things attacking it. I would really need to see the base of the tree and find out what your watering schedule. Oh, there's the base. What's up? Okay, when we first planted it. Yeah, so way too much mulch there. You got a mulch volcano going on. You got to move some of that. So I'm going to say fungus. You've got a really stressed tree that all the critters are getting to it. So I think that's going to be the right diagnosis. Is you just got a really stressed tree with a lot of things going on that are attacking it now that it's stressed. So you got to take away the stressors. And, quite frankly, that's not uncommon with these mimosas. They're beautiful, beautiful little trees. I got a neighbor that's got like 5 of them kind of surrounding the front. He's on a corner lot, and they're just like gorgeous right now. They've got these beautiful pink flowers. So, all right. I have a weeping willow, 15 years old. It's always had full drooping leaves and limbs that would hang down. And some of the trees losing all its leaves. And I grabbed one of the larger branches that had no leaves, and it broke completely off. The trunk also looks darker than normal. And the idea is what can help save the tree. South Mississippi. Let's see. I'm going to have to I'm going to have to quit this feed here in just a few minutes, guys. So we're going to get through a few more of these, and then I'm going to reschedule another event, and we're going to go through the rest of them. Yeah, maybe. Tomorrow's kind of busy for me too, man. Okay, so you got the root flares are buried here. Really well manicured lawn. That's concerning. Y'all, weeds are actually a good sign. Weeds usually mean that you've got a healthy lawn. I stopped calling weeds a plant out of place. I consider them kind of the mechanics of the soil. They all do stuff. Weeds don't like to grow in an area with available calcium and phosphorus, etc. And so typically when you've got weeds growing, that's a good sign. That means they're bringing a lot of those nutrients that are deprived. Hey, you're very welcome, Jason. Hey, Jason says, thanks for helping people with all this great info. Hey, it's my pleasure, man. Thanks for being here and supporting the channel, man. Mine is that live oak with yellowing, browning leaves. You're already covered. Beautiful. I love it. Glad we could help, man. And like I said, if you need further help, we're happy to get on a digital arborist consultation and help you out. I'm wondering what's going on here, Chris. You've got something clearly. Let's see what we got here. Oh, what's up? Chris is on here right now. Hey, thanks for joining, dude. And Lucas said that too. The picture will fool you. We do not maintain maintenance except mowing. Good. Leave it alone. That being said, you might have somewhat of a compacted soil. Are you applying fertilizer? Let's see. Do not apply any fertilizer. Let's see what the history is here, man. How about irrigation? Pixel lower trunk might be helpful. I will have to take more pictures of the daylight tomorrow. We don't irrigate either. It's southern Mississippi. We get a fair amount of rain routinely in the summer through afternoon. Summer storms. By the way, lightning storms produce a lot of nitrogen and makes it available to the tree. So that's a beautiful thing. All right, what are we looking at here? That's the root flares are a little buried. Yeah, I'm kind of seeing the soil's kind of compacted, and I don't know. A lot of times rain, if it does that, will kind of compact the soil. Willows, they're okay being in a slightly anaerobic condition, but a little more tolerant than many other trees, I would say. Let's see, there's clues here, but nothing stands out. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm a little confused on this one too, Shim. If this was a tree at my client's property, I'd be starting with soil moisture tests, root samples, and soil samples to narrow down the cause. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And let me send you where are we at? U.S. Agriculture Extension by state. Just scroll down to the Mississippi section and find your go-to guys and give them a shout. See if you can send them a soil sample and identify what's going on. I see compacted soil, but I could be wrong on that, and really the only way to really tell, would any poison be a concern? Yeah, absolutely. If you're doing ant poison, it can stress it for sure. Yeah. This is awesome. Chris is on here talking. This is what I love about doing this is when people get online and we just have a conversation like this. Cause really in a perfect world, I'd be online or on the phone with all of you and we'd be talking through this. Cause I've got questions, and, it really in a forensics scenario, as much data input as I can gather, it's going to really help me to identify and pinpoint what's going on. So ant poison most certainly could do some damage. Ants are actually a good thing because they help aerate the soil. And if you're killing them off, then, well, they were aerating it and now they're not. So that may be a part of it. It looks almost like a low-lying area, maybe, although I could be wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong on that, Chris. Yeah, to me, that looks like an anaerobic type condition, or combine that with the little ant killer. And yeah, ant killer is going to stress it out hormonally and could even make some of the nutrients less available to the tree that it would normally get. Weeping willows are cool trees, though, so if you can keep that around and keep it preserved. You know what you might try is a technique called vertical mulching. And let's see if I can find it here. Vertical mulching saves trees. Sorry, y'all, I'm getting exhausted, and my wife's probably just thinking I'm a nut job staying online with y'all so long. I'm gonna have to kill it maybe. And let's go through 2 more of them and see. I did it again. All these buttons. No, I don't want to delete. I'm just gonna leave that open because I don't know what I just did. All right, so yeah, we've been on this for 2 hours now, y'all. All right, so we got another one coming in too. This is getting crazy, you guys. We're growing too fast. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering if we need to get. I tell my wife I'm helping the world. Jason says, "Tell your wife you're helping the world." She knows. Also, yeah, I just love her too much. I would spend all my time with her, and I wouldn't even hang out with you guys. Not that I don't love y'all too, but I chose her, and man, she's just the love of my life, and rocks my world in so many ways, y'all. All right, we're getting close. We're only 23 hours out now, but I think we had like 50 leads, or not leads, but 50 questions come in today. We have a yellow magnolia, which is about a month or so old. It doesn't seem healthy or happy. It's a well-drained area. It has rained a lot, but currently after the rain, I give it about a 5-gallon bucket of water. Oh my goodness. No, you got to slow it down. Liza. Sorry if I'm butchering your name there, Liza. Oh, you're a crane operator too. Come over here and play trees with us. That's trees scare a lot of crane guys. If you do it right and you know what you're doing, though, it makes everybody's day go easier and safer. Also, you can flip cranes, and that spells disaster. So I think you're probably getting too much water. It looks like a bay magnolia of some sort. Yellow magnolia, a month or so old. What just happened? Freaking technology, you guys. We only got a handful more. I need to get the less fancy mouse, I think. Okay, yeah, I think Liza, you're getting way too much water to it. Stop that watering. Let the soil dry out, and then let's see. Did I get that same? Are you overwatering? Is that the one? Or did I just give you a bogus link? YouTube.com/ yeah, not that one. That's not what I wanted. Hold on. Go back here. By the way, y'all, if you haven't checked it out yet, we do a YouTube channel. It's just Arborist on Demand. That's my company. And I just teach trees. I do a radio show here. I actually just recently wrote a book too, and we're going to publish it here in sometime this year. It's going a lot slower because I'm not good with technology. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Brian was talking about. He wrote a book. I wrote a book, y'all. Here, let's see if we can find it. Nah, Brian, here. I wrote a book, y'all. Where is it? Oh no. Yeah, Complete Guide to Owning a Tree. It's kind of like a complete fool's guide to basically if you know nothing or if you want to go become an arborist, it's perfect for you. It's like a technical reference guide. Also made easy enough with like silly analogies and stuff like that, where if you know nothing about trees, you can learn about trees. And that's the whole point is, really just educate people on the trees they love and live around. So trees are great and they help people in more ways than y'all can imagine. Candy says, well, I do have a question about my cherry tree. I also see that hardly any questions are answered. That's actually not true. We've answered every single one to my knowledge. At least to the best of my ability. It's just sometimes it takes about a week, and we all have jobs, Candy. So sorry it's taking a minute, but yeah, they all get answered. Sometimes it's in this live stream. Sometimes it's right in person. All right. So Christy asks, I need some advice for my maple. We're in northern Oklahoma. I noticed last year, I noticed some of the bark starting to separate from the tree. This year, I saw a trail under the bark. I'm not sure if it's termites or carpenter ants or what. What's is not a, it's not a word. Every year, her bark looks a little weird. This is how tired I'm getting, y'all. And we were in the studio for not long, but like 30 minutes recording some stuff for the radio show we do. Yeah, hour to get there and an hour to get back. That was in the KTRH. Actually, it's iHeartRadio Studios, but KTRH rents it out. Is there any saving her? The canopy still looks good, but I'm noticing lines. The thing is yeah, you had some damage. You do have. It looks like borers. Those exit wounds right there are basically, so it's not termites, it's not carpenter ants. Those guys might come in secondarily. But it's not that, Christy. It's what you've got is there were some borers that damaged it, some fungal pathogens that damaged it. However, the tree is sealing over properly, so you've got it going in the right direction. That's a good thing. The main thing you want to worry about, silver maples, I think it is. Yeah, silver maple, I believe. Maybe a sugar. It's not a sugar maple. Anyways, you want to make sure that the tree is structurally sound. So you've got the structure of a tree and you've got the health of the tree. And the two are related and they affect each other, but they're mutually exclusive at the same time. You can have a perfectly healthy tree that is structurally just decrepit as can be. And you can have a perfectly structurally sound tree that is going the way of the dodo. It's not doing good. And so, but they also will affect each other, certainly. And so you want to make sure this tree is structurally sound. I see it's right next to your house. Make sure it's not a threat to your home and family. Otherwise, I see it on the mend. You did have some borer damage and some fungus, but the tree's growing in the right direction and it's sealing that wound over nicely. So keep that up, whatever you're doing to help it along, and give it some extra resources. Again, I really like these guys. Microlife is a great brand. And if you need help getting a hold of it, hit me up, shoot me a message, and we'll get some to you. But they're a really, really one. What's that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're finishing it out. Man, we're going strong, Lucas. We got this. I'm a strong, independent hombre. All right. So, Christy, I hope that helps. Northern Oklahoma. Amy asks, where are you at, Amy? She's nowhere. Hello, all. Our beautiful birch is struggling. Can someone please give me an advice on how to help it? I'm assuming it's about 30 years old, located in Utah. Check for bugs. I don't see any. We've been watering it a lot from our sprinklers. The leaves are drying out and falling. Half of the tree looks healthy. Thanks in advance. I don't have a lot to go off of here, Amy, but if you're watering a lot, here's what I notice is a lot of people take a look at their tree and say, oh man, it's struggling. And so what they'll do is they'll just water it and water it and water it and water it and water it. And oftentimes the problem was a lack of drainage or too much irrigation causing an anaerobic condition in the soil. So let me get that link to you again. Where is it? Here we go. Are you overwatering your trees? Oh, I love when my internet's slow while I'm trying to finish these things out. Okay, so I think you're probably overwatering your trees, but I could be wrong. Check that link out and see. Use that screwdriver test. You basically just jam a screwdriver in the ground, pull it out. Did it come back wet and muddy? Did it come back dry? That's going to tell you whether or not you should irrigate. So check that link out, and hopefully that helps. Jennifer asks, good evening. This is for a lilac enthusiast and arborist in the know. I have this unruly lilac bush grafted, unsure what type. I have tried to do a reverse image search to identify and see what to do. This bush for the past 2 years has had a bald spot in it. That's funny. In the middle, I broke off one of the branches and it seems unalived, but as you move outward toward the middle, the ends all have flowers on them. Oh, shoot, Jason, I'm sorry. Jason asks, live question. We have a 15-footer tall crepe myrtle and red push pistachio planted in our yard in Vegas. Currently, we have 4 watering stakes down about 3.5 feet around these trees. Stakes useful? Not really, honestly. You're better off with like a soaker hose, honestly, Jason. The thing is, and in Vegas, you've got a sandy soil. We were watering on top of the ground. Yeah, the watering stakes. See, the thing is, 3.5 feet into the ground, your roots aren't really down there. Most of your absorbing roots that are going to pull minerals and water from the soil are going to be on the top the top 6 to 8 inches of the soil. So I know that's not a lot, but think of like a wine glass on a dinner plate. Is the roots are trying to form a web to collect as many resources from the atmosphere and in the soil as they can. They want water and they want air. And so I'm also unsure how much to water and how often. I know deep watering less often is way better than too often and less. Yes, you're right on track, Jason. You're absolutely right, dude. That is in slow and infrequent and deep waterings is the key. And so if you can get it down to 1 day and just water the daylights out of it, that actually will help your roots go deeper into the soil, and you'll get a much more burly, much more robust root system. And so, yeah, keep that up. Soaker hose is my favorite way. Just drape it all across where you might, really anywhere the roots could be, and turn it on at night when you go to bed, turn it off when you go back in the morning. Now in Vegas, you might need to do it a little more frequently. So again, just I'll send that link to you again. Just check out that link and see if maybe that's going to help you just get the watering down to a science, if you will. All right. So sorry, Jennifer, we got sidetracked. That's a great name, by the way. That's my wife's name. No worries. Lucas over here distracting me. A lilac bush. Lilac bush are really cool. What's that? Yeah. Jennifer, I'm sorry. I'm having trouble. I will say this: those rocks are no good for it. I know they're like really pretty and they're nice to look at. They create kind of a soft texture to the landscape, but they're really going to be detrimental and kind of hazardous to the tree's health. And so you might want to try to get rid of those and apply a mulch instead. The leaves actually look really good. The flowers on them look really good. I can't tell a whole lot. It's kind of a fuzzy picture. Good sun where it's at. Good drainage. That's a good thing. Temps to get pretty cold. Ooh, zone 5 in winter. Where are you at? Don't know. That's going to be way up north. I have no idea what's really going on and what the end results will be to remedy. I was told by a landscaping service nearby to just cut it down and get rid of it. I'm not prepared to do that without a thorough investigation. Is there any point in trying to revive/rejuvenate this struggling plant, especially if it's a grafted variety? Husband thinks that if we cut it all the way down, it will end up with a birch tree, not a bush tree, not a lilac. Birch tree? I don't know how it changes species. That's only a myth. You can't like genetically change the tree no more than you can genetically change the human just by changing the parts on it. That is not a statement of any sort, y'all. But anyways, I don't know. We'll end up with a birch tree, not a lilac. I don't think that's the case, but it will certainly change it. Instead of a kind of a lilac form, you're going to form more of like a bunch of little sprouts that pop up from the roots, and that's the tree's basically survival technique. Is it's like the stress SOS mode. And so good sun is good, drainage is good. I'm wondering what's going on though. I can't tell exactly. I'm sorry I'm not more help. What I might do though, and this is just kind of general advice, is if you've got a struggling tree, hit it with some sugar. Sugar is like one of the best things. Sugar is essentially what trees are made of, and it's what the leaves produce. And so if you hit it with like some cooking molasses or some food grade molasses and some humic acid and seaweed extract, you might be able to rejuvenate and revive some of that interior canopy. So check out these guys. You can find it on Amazon and eBay, but I'm about to start selling it as well. This, let me give you 2 products here. This guy and copy, paste. And this guy right here, copy and paste. By the way, I don't get paid by Micro. I like to say this. I just really like their style, and they make some unbelievably good products. So very high quality organic biological fertilizers. So it's not technically fertilizers. It's more like biostimulant type ingredients. So hopefully that helps, Jennifer. Hit it with those stuff. You could do it pretty often. Do it about once a month or more or less, and maybe once every 3 or 4 weeks. And just see if that starts to jumpstart some new growth in the middle. I might also just get rid of some of those rocks and see if you can and replace it with mulch, because rocks don't. Here's a video I did. Rocks are not mulch. Tree pest of the week is humans. That was a fun one. What's that, Lucas? Yeah, that's right. They'll absorb heat and cold, and so you get the worst of both worlds. And so here you go. Oops. Oh, there we go. Hope that helps, Jennifer. Moving on. Diana Circus Ruby Falls, red bud planted in fall 2023 here in northern West Virginia. Was beautiful summer 24. This year 25 seems dead. Until recently began seeing growth at the base. Today I broke a few branches to check for green. All but 1 to 2 appear unalived. Should I leave it alone or trim those leaves away from the base to promote growth to the weeping upper branches? Absolutely not. No, that's the only living tissue on that tree. The new growth should not be removed unless you plan on removing the tree. Oh, that's right. It is a grafted tree. The Circus Ruby Reds are it's not going to hold its weeping form. I agree. Shim, spot on again. You're awesome, dude. Thanks a million, buddy. But yeah, that's a good point because I didn't even remember the fact that those weeping varieties are grafted. So yeah, you're going to have to cut your losses or form a completely different type of red bud by just letting the rootstock grow. The rootstock's going to be a lot hardier than the top fruit stock, if you will. And so yeah, you can let them grow and revive those, but unless you want to get rid of the tree completely, don't remove those lower leaves. That's the only living tissue on the tree right now. So hope that helps. And where are we at? Are we at 1, 2, 3 more? We can do it, you guys. 3 more. We did it. I'm going to burn through these because I'm exhausted, y'all. All right. Is it unhealthy to prune? What's that? No, that's a statue. That's a statue, homie. Yes, if that was Ganoderma, it actually kind of looks like it. But no, that's a statue of a mushroom with feet. With feet. Yeah, I like your foot mushroom. Well, it does kind of look like Ganoderma from far. All right, so Will asks, is it unhealthy to prune and remove the suckers circled below on a mastic tree? I don't know what mastic trees are. Almost looks like a live oak or an olive. The tree trunk does receive direct sunlight, afternoon sunlight on the trunk. No, leave them alone. You don't want to. Yeah, I'd let them be as of now. It's mid-June and growth is happening. If you prune now, make your tree susceptible to disease and fungus. I would wait until late fall to prune. If the branches are smaller than 2 diameters, let them be in trim in the late fall. Actually, I'd leave them alone because those are epicormic or water sprouts growing from the trunk. I think it could be root suckers too. But either way, that's kind of a reactionary growth to stress. So it tells me something else is going on. The other thing is if it is susceptible to sun scald and you do have a lot of rocks around there, rocks are no good, y'all. Keep them away. Then, and in fact, if you can replace them, that would be ideal. But we'll have a reply too. Thank you much for your helpful reply. Your explanation makes sense to me. Yeah, I agree with her explanation. Leave them alone unless you want to hurt the tree further. Those are actually reactionary growth to stress, and they will produce carbohydrates for the tree in that particular spot that will help the tree to seal if there is some sun scald going on. But you definitely got to get rid of those rocks around the base of it. It's just no good. There's so many bad things about rocks, and sure they look great, but you've got a heat island effect going on. So that may be why the tree's producing those sprouts there at the base. So hope that helps, Will. All right, bougainvillea. Oh yeah, yep. That's bougainvillea. Yeah, you can trellis it up too, and you can train that like crazy. Also, can it be grown in South Carolina? I think so. I'm not sure. It depends on the variety, really. You'll have to pinpoint it down. Send me some closer up pictures, Hannah. Yeah, that is a beautiful tree. Look, it's like it's a beautiful tree. I agree. That's gorgeous. Bougainvilleas, we plant a lot of them here in Houston too. All right. Sarah asks, we have chinkapin oak that is approximately 8 years old in Plano, Texas. That's where I grew up, Sarah. That's cool. You're my former neighbor. I grew up in like Parker and Custer area, if you know the area. The first photo was June 3rd. New leaves look like they're turning fall colors. Second photo was June 13th. So that's 10 days different. Now those leaves have spots on them. What is happening on all the leaves? They're turning brown. Any thoughts on what is happening? Not a lot with only the leaf pictures, but let's take a look at them anyway. So that's some sort of fungal pathogen going on. There's some sort of blister canker going on too. You may have some insects chewing on it. And it looks like a new tree planted. in suburbia. I can tell the fence there. I know the Plano fences and lay of the land there. Yeah, it looks like you got some fungal pathogens. Check the base of it and see if the root flares are buried, and also figure out when it was planted. I'm going to need a little bit more information here, Sarah. I wish I could be of further help because you are my former neighbor, and that's pretty cool. What a small world it is. What's that? And that's it, you guys. We did it. What's up, Ed Dolphin? Oh my goodness. Is that Ed Dolphin, former ISA Texas chapter president? I got to look at this. Ed Dolphin just commented. Yeah, Ed's right. Yeah, those decay points. This is we're going back to Ashley's photo about her hackberry there. So Ed says those were created where limbs were previously removed. The tree is closing the injury ever so slowly. No worries. Yeah, I kind of agree that I think the limbs were pruned a little wrong, maybe too close. They were flush cut to the trunk. But Ed's a great guy. He was a former ISA Texas chapter president and just a really great arborist. He's down here in Houston near me, I think up on the north side. But what's up, Ed? Thanks for being here, buddy. And hopefully you're seeing this. And he's absolutely spot on. The problem with hackberries is my observation. I haven't read anything about it, but they're very, very poor compartmentalizers. And so you'll get decay that'll enter. And as long as the tree's outgrowing it, no worries. He's absolutely right. But sometimes they can be kind of ticking time explosive devices. I can't say that word, can I, on the tubes of you. But anyways, I've seen hackberries that look like the most beautiful, healthy trees you can imagine, and they just explode whenever the storm comes. So be careful with it. You definitely want to inspect it and maybe do a little structural pruning if it's needed. But like I said, I posted the link there. Happy to get on a call with you and check them out in person. And with that, we are all finished, you guys. This has been an absolute joy and a pleasure for me. And also, y'all wear me out with all these questions. Keep them coming, y'all. So glad to be here and be a good resource for you guys. And hopefully we're doing some good work. And Megan, thanks again for coming on there and posting that about the follow-up of what's going on with your, what are we looking at here? Did I just completely close everything out? I don't even know what I'm looking at. Anyways, thanks again for being here, you guys. Again, it's Arborist on Demand is my company. We do kind of like telemedicine for trees, is we can look at your trees no matter where you are. In fact, I've got a couple court cases going on in the Canadias. We've got one in Ireland. I was talking to a person in Australia the other day. So it's kind of a small world nowadays with the digital stuff that we can do. And so I'm happy to get online if y'all need a closer look and inspect your trees in person, because the reality of the matter is trees are great until they're not. And if they're not, they can become a real hazard to us. So it's important that we make sure they're growing in the right direction. And again, I'm happy to be here as a resource for you guys. Check us out next Thursday, same bat time, same bat channel at 7:30 Central Standard Time. And if you got questions, feel free to drop them here in the Ask an Arborist Facebook group. And again, if you need help and need a closer inspection, it's arboristondemand.com. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.